told me
haunting.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, and we're live. What are you doing, Greg?
I'm looking up the title of a book I want to talk about.
Which book?
It's an audio book, and it was about Reconstruction.
Oh, what we were just talking about with slaves. Yeah.
And it was about how, once the slaves were freed, they still perpetuated slavery by it's called I gotta find it, by Slavery by Another Name by Douglas Blackman, and it's about how they'd put loitering laws in all around the country, and they would find black people, and if they were standing around, they would arrest them. Or if there was like a petty larceny or a domestic violence thing, they'd arrest them for fucking 2 years with a trial with one judge and no jury, and the judge was very often a magistrate of the coal mining company.
Oh.
They'd send the prisoner to a coal mine for 2 years where he'd work 7 days a week with shackles on, and they would fucking whip them. And if they tried to escape, they tracked them down with dogs, and they beat them, sometimes to death. And this went on for fucking decades.
Jesus Christ.
So people talk about, well, slavery ended back. No, forms of slavery went on for a long time.
Not only that, slavery ended, and what effort was done to sort of rectify the situation? What effort was done to like try to give even opportunities for people who grew up in African American cities that were predominantly slaves before 1865?
Yeah.
Like what's ever been done?
40 acres and a mule. Did they ever get that?
Is that real?
I don't know. It was a.
But even if you're dealing with that, even if some people got 40 acres and a mule, like what, is that enough?
No.
Like the whole thing is crazy. Like if you have an entire country that the ancestors that did most of the work did it against their will. And then you're just like, yeah, well, you don't have to do that anymore. And then people are like, we want reparations. And white people are like, that was 100 years ago.
Do you know at Georgetown, did you read about this? Georgetown University is giving reparations to the slaves that built the university.
So the families of the slaves,
they
the
tracked
ancestors,
them down
the
with like 23andMe or one of those companies,
Jesus.
and they're fucking knocking on doors, and they're like, "Hey, are you blah blah blah?" Well, your great great grandfather built Georgetown University, and they're assessing the students. I don't think it's official yet, but it looks like it's happening.
My concern,
they're assessing the students like $50 each or something.
My big concern is that it's going to go the other way. They're going to track down people's DNA and going to go, we found out that your family profited from slavery. Like, oh,
yeah,
I'm 22.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck did I do?
Yeah.
Give me all your money. All of your money. All your ill-gotten gains.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, but no. My dad had a legitimate job. He worked for H&R Block and this and that. Yeah. But his grandfather got his money to raise his dad because he had slaves.
Yeah. Well, wasn't Schwarzenegger's grandfather an SS soldier?
We don't talk about that.
He was.
Was he? His grandfather was?
I think he was a green shirt.
Whoa. What, like there's a kid named John Gotti III. It's John Gotti, the gangster's grandson.
Yeah.
And he's an MMA fighter.
Oh, no shit.
And he's good.
No shit.
He's good, yeah.
Wow.
So far, he's fighting on these small promotions, but he's fucking people up, and he's jacked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember John, because I lived on Mulberry Street in
I remember
Little
that
Italy.
place.
And it was a fucking tenement apartment, and downstairs, literally downstairs and one door over, was the Ravenite Social Club, which was where Gotti met on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
All the bosses would pull up, and the capos, and I don't know the terms, but they lined up fucking limos right up Mulberry Street. Oh, yeah. They'd walk up and down the street smoking cigars, and John Gotti Jr. was kind of in charge at that time, which I guess would be this guy's father.
Yes.
And he wasn't known as being that sharp.
And, how dare you?
Well, the family kind of fell apart since then. I don't think there's
I think the FBI just had unlimited resources, government backing, and they slowly picked the fucking organization apart and then got people to rat on each other.
They bugged the Ravenite Social Club. They got inside and they bugged it, and then when they found out it was bugged, the wise guys would walk up and down Mulberry Street and talk about their business.
So they bugged the cars on the route.
They bugged the hubcaps of the cars on the route. You heard about that?
Yeah. Well, that was always the thing about that guy, the Chin. What's his name? The Chin Giganti. How the fuck do you say his name? Vincent the Chin. He was crazy. But he wasn't crazy. But he would act crazy. So he'd walk around in a bathrobe.
Oh, in a bathrobe, right.
Yeah.
Because he was up on trial. He was out on bail.
Just say he was out of his fucking mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Wandered through the streets with a bathrobe on, playing crazy. That's him. I'm crazy. I'm just walking around. I'm crazy.
Dude. That would be fun.
They bugged him, too.
That'd be fun to pretend you're crazy.
I think he was actually the guy that they got with the hubcaps.
Oh, yeah?
Or maybe they used that tactic more than once. Because these guys, they had a fucking neighborhood where they would go to. And when they were in that neighborhood, that was their territory.
Right.
Like, when you were living there, was that going on? Like, Gotti was out of jail?
No, Gotti was in jail when I was there. Yeah. But they still showed up. Most of the guys, I think their real headquarters is more in Brooklyn, but they still came back to Mulberry Street. And it is literally across the street was St. Patrick's School, which is where Robert De Niro and Scorsese went to school as kids, and where you remember the film Mean Streets?
Yeah,
that was shot. Remember they jump over the wall into the cemetery? That's St. Patrick's School, and it's across from the Ravenite Social Club.
Fuck, I don't remember anything about that movie. I remember the movie, but I don't remember anything about what happened in it. I need to see that one again.
Yeah, I need to see that one again.
You know what I saw again recently? Bullitt.
Oh, so did I. Did you see it on a plane?
Really? I think I did see it on a plane.
Yeah, they show it on a plane now.
Yeah.
On United or something. That's my car. I saw that movie when I was young, and I said, I want that fucking 69 fastback Mustang.
Oh, yeah.
That's a badass car.
It's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
I think it's a 68.
Is it 68?
67 or 68.
Yeah.
I think it's a 68. There's this very specific shape that the 68 had. They had like the best rear end. It's a beautiful. They had really a cool setup with the rear tail lights at 68.
It was a little broader.
It was weird looking.
Yeah.
Just real unusual in compared to some of the other Mustangs, but I love it. That's my favorite, I think.
And you watch those movies like that, and you realize you think it's going to be. There's one big car chase. That's it.
Yeah, and it's long.
It's long and it's slow.
Yeah,
but.
Movies were different.
They were different. They weren't afraid to do a tracking shot for 2 minutes with no dialogue.
Yeah.
Just fucking follow a guy walking down the street.
Yeah, we just assume people are stupid as fuck. And because of comments and because stupid people want to comment so often, the signal's all skewed towards stupid. You know, like a movie like, did you ever see Le Mans with Steve McQueen? Another great Steve McQueen movie? There's no talking at all for the first X amount of minutes of the movie. There's no talking. It's just cars racing.
Right.
And him driving around and shit.
Yep.
There's no talking.
Yeah.
And if you were at a movie theater today and there was no talking, people are like, is this broken?
I know.
Did you forget the fucking part where the guy talks?
Dude, fucking talk!
There it is. Look, there he is.
Say something!
The original 68 Mustang, and that's also a 68 Charger that he's in a race with. The original 68 Mustang, I think just went for sale. I think somebody just bought it. Look at that.
You mean the one from this movie?
Yeah. They had hero cars, because they wrecked a few of these fuckers.
Fuck yeah.
If they're doing, like, how many cars did they wreck in Gone in 60 Seconds? That Nicolas Cage movie where we drove that Eleanor Mustang?
Yeah. Well, dude,
they must have wrecked a bunch of those.
How many fucking orange Challengers do you think they needed to get for Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh my God!
They wrecked one in every episode.
That to me is one of the more interesting episodes in our culture. That show, which was a beloved part of our past, is now taboo. You will never find it anywhere because of the Confederate flag on the roof. And when we were kids,
that's a deal breaker.
It's fucking KKK. It's racism. It's white sheets. When we were kids, it meant the South.
Yeah.
It didn't mean the same thing. There's a fucking poster that I have over the pisser from a Leonard Skinner concert from sometime during the 70s. They have a giant Confederate flag behind them on stage.
Yeah.
But it didn't mean they were racist. It meant they were from the South. But somewhere along the line, it shifted. This is where the argument gets weird, right? Because people will say, hey, it's not about that. It's about Southern pride. I understand it used to be about Southern pride. But now, unfortunately, that flag is now connected to racism. So you're sending out a bad signal.
Yeah.
So what you want that flag to mean for you, that's great. But what that flag means for other people is now changed.
Yeah.
And you either accept that, or, you know, you're fighting against it. Oh, you can't get me to fucking shit. This means this to the. But people don't. People don't have time to rationally consider whether or not you're racist or whether or not you're from the South.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you? Why do you have that flag?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have time to consider that. They just go, oh, you must be in the KKK. Oh, you must hate black people. Oh, bang, there it is, racist. You got that flag.
Mm.
So something shifted, like really radically. And the Dukes of Hazzard is like a great metric of it. It's one of the great things in our culture we could use to measure. You go, look what happened. You had a hit show that literally sparked a type of clothing, the Daisy Dukes, for gay men,
Yeah.
and for girls that are really sad. Like we see a girl with Daisy Dukes, like, sweetie, you don't need that. You're hot without it.
Oh,
You're
you kidding
trying
me?
so hard with those Daisy Dukes.
I just went to a food truck before I got here, and there was an Asian girl, and like my favorite kind of Asian girl. She was, I believe,
Alive?
Filipino, big lips,
Oh.
tan, dark tan with Daisy Dukes,
Oh my God.
open-toed sandals, beautiful feet, nice pedicure.
Were you freaking out?
It was just me and her, so I couldn't stare, and it was so painful. You ever like you're fighting your neck, like don't
Yeah.
fucking turn, keep your head straight.
Here's what's interesting, and this is the dynamic that's the difference between men and women. If we were describing this exact same thing, but you were a girl and you were describing a guy, it would be innocent.
Yeah,
It would be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be creepy. It'd be like, that girl's so horny. Oh my God. Like if she was like, I was in line and behind me was Jason Momoa. You know, Aquaman. Oh my God. And if you think he looks good in movies, he looks so good in real life, sweetie. I couldn't stop. I was looking right at his dick. I looked at his dick and I looked at his face and I looked at his dick and he started smiling and I started nodding. And no one would care.
no, and you'd say that girl's liberated. She's
Yeah.
free.
She's crazy. That girl's
Yeah.
wild. Like
Yeah.
she could maybe grab it on the way out. Tap,
Oh, yeah.
tap. Give it a little tap, tap, tap. No one's going to call the cops, right? But if that's the difference. And so I think this is something that as men, this is a shaky one because there are definitely some fake male feminists out there that are just doing it because they want women to love them. Mm-hmm. And they say a bunch of shit that really screws the curve up. But if you're being honest and you're being rational, you have to realize that the way a woman perceives being hit on is going to be way different than the way a guy does. Because the girl's in danger. She's in potential danger. Like, legitimately.
Yeah.
Like, if you were some fucking serial killer psychopath and you decided to follow her back to her house, that's on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the menu. How rare is it that you meet a girl somewhere and she wants to come back to your house and kill you? It's pretty fucking rare. You got Eileen Wuornos, that monster for the Charlize Theron movie.
Oh yeah,
That girl
the
did
prostitute.
that. Yeah, she would pick guys up and they would think they were going to go get laid and she'd kill them.
right. And they were also. It wasn't. You know, people can demonize the John because he's picking up a hardcore hooker.
Because he wants some sex.
They see it's not victimless.
Yeah, but, you know, he just wants sex. He doesn't want to get murdered. You know, but she was tortured and, you know, abused so horribly in her life that men became the enemy.
Yeah.
There's a big lesson in that, man. I've known guys and watched them as they got older and like failed relationship after failed relationship where they started developing this like resentment towards women. You know, this is like a deep-seated like, fuck them. All they want is this and all they want to... Because what they're getting from the women all the time is negative. They're getting rejection because they're trying to get laid. They want the women to touch them. And the women are like, nah, I'm not really into touching you. And you're like, fuck these whores. And they eventually develop this thing where they just hate.
Isn't there a name
women.
for those guys?
Misogynists?
No, there's like an online name.
Incel.
Yeah, right.
Incels are guys who, I think mostly they're talking about like a lot of those guys are like genetically unfortunate, you know, like fucked up bone structure and small.
And that's why there's an argument for legalized prostitution because there are men that just because of deformities or whatever reason, or maybe they're even neurotic to where they can't hit on a woman, and so there should be a place where a woman can knowingly and confidently and safely be a prostitute.
Yes, it should be your option. The problem is we equate prostitution with two things that are horrible: sexual abuse and sex slavery, sex trafficking. We equate prostitution with those things. That's why, like, when Robert Kraft got busted, one of the first things they said is, this guy's a billionaire and he was participating in sex trafficking. That's what they accused him of. But then they had to drop that. I don't know if you know that.
No.
So there was no sex trafficking there. There was prostitutes. There was women who wanted to have sex for money. And he
so they didn't come over in a SEAL tanker and slept in the...
No, they were prostitutes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's their choice. And you don't hear much about that. The sex trafficking was like a big thing, I think, to get him to plead guilty. And they put it out there, and they said, you know, they were shaming him and making it this big deal. This guy had paid to get his dick touched. You know, and here he is. What is he, like 78 years old, 80 years old or something like that? This old guy just wanted to get his dick touched. He paid. It was a deal. She probably did it 13 times that day before him. You know, I mean, that's what they were doing in that place. They were jerking guys off. But people kept coming back. Why'd they keep coming back? Because they hated it? Why'd they keep coming back? Because it was a ripoff? Why'd they keep coming back? No, because as adults, they wanted to get their dick touched. And this woman was willing to do that. And she, is that a bad job? It's a fucking terrible job. So is Wendy's. So is being a dishwasher. Those are terrible jobs too. Do you want to be the guy who puts the coal, the fucking tar on the streets in the hot day? Do you want to be that guy?
Yeah.
The fuck out of here. That job sucks. Do you want to be a guy who works in a gas station where you're constantly sniffing fumes? Fuck that. That job sucks. A lot of jobs suck. But it's your choice. It's your choice as a human being to take that job or not take that job. I feel the same way about prostitution that I feel about massage. It's like, if you can pay someone to touch your feet and rub your feet, you could pay a dude to just be rubbing your feet. Why can't you pay someone to touch you? Why can't you pay someone to touch your genitals?
And like you said,
ridiculous.
Get rid of the stigma by legalizing it and making
protect
sure
those girls.
Right. I've been to the Bunny Ranch. I got a tour. I went, you know, my wife gave me permission.
Calling it a tour?
Took a tour.
Hey, I had a map. I had a fucking Hawaiian shirt on.
No, I had the T-shirt with the tour dates on it.
He died recently.
Dennis Hoff.
Dennis Hoff died.
Yeah, so he invited me. He came to a show I was doing in Lake Tahoe. No, Reno. And he goes, hey, do you want to come take a tour? And like, because of the Stern connection, I kind of knew him. He's like, do you want to come take a tour of the ranch? And I go, let me call my wife. And I called her and I go, I just want to see it.
I'm just going to smell it.
And she goes, well, if you bring Kathleen Roll, who is the feature act, with you, then you can go. So they send a limo.
Nice.
And we go off. And we walk in and there was like, one room had like a fucking trapeze in it, and the other one had a hot tub. They all had different like themes to them. And it was like, it wasn't as skanky as I thought, but it was pretty down and dirty. It was like trailers, but they were clean. And while I was there, a doctor showed up and they gave them all they checked their snatches for whatever.
What?
They had a little kitchenette. They had somebody cooking little snacks for them. They offered me some. I said, I'm going to pass. And then at the end, he pulls me aside and he goes, by the way, Greg, take any of the girls. It's on the house. And I go, well, Dennis, I've never been with a prostitute before, and it wasn't because of the $100. I wasn't waiting for a freebie. But the girls were happy. They keep 50% of the money. They can't use drugs on the premises. They can refuse a customer. And they come and go when they want.
I think people should be able to do whatever they want that doesn't hurt people. And I think that falls into that category. And I think it does provide a service for really frustrated men that can't get sex any other way.
Yeah.
And I think it's stigmatized. I think it's stigmatized in a very weird way. It's not a good job. I don't want to do it. I don't want my children to do it. I don't want your children to do it. I don't want my kids to work as a dishwasher either. I don't want my kids to be a coal miner. Those things are real jobs, you know? I just don't. I think that if we had different attitudes about sex, we wouldn't look at it as harshly. We would look at it as horribly as we look at it. We look at it different because we think that like intimacy is connected to romance, and romance is connected to this emotional connection you have with this person that you're sharing pleasure with. I'm like, that is wonderful. But physical release is also very important for men. It's like, it's very important and it's very important for everyone to be touched. And some people don't want to touch them. They're just not doing so good.
Yeah,
it's just they're not in a good spot. They're not physically attractive. Whatever it is, whatever for some people, and they have a desire and a need to be touched, and it fucking wrecks them to the soul when they're not touched all the time. They constantly walk around filled with resentment, filled with bitterness, just quietly enraged inside at the hand that life has given them. And for those people, if you had legalized prostitution, if it was like someone who, like, you could conceivably have friendships with these people that you're having sex with, if you wanted to do that. Like, I knew a girl who, when she was younger, she was a sex worker, and she's a, I don't want to even reveal her. It would be too obvious if I reveal what she does, but she did it for a while when she was, like, young, and she fucked some older guys that were, like, you know, in their 60s and shit, and they didn't have, you know, they had money, but they didn't have the time to date, and, you know, maybe they had a wife, and they wanted to have sex with somebody on the side, and she would take money from them, and she liked it. She's like, it's a great way to make money. It was a lot more money. It's not that big a deal. She goes, I knew who I was doing it with. And I was like, wow, she's smart. You know, I mean, I don't think everybody has that attitude. And I would never want anybody to do that doesn't have that attitude. But if you're one of those girls that's like hustling, maybe you don't have a family that backs you up.
No, there's girls that, like, you know, there is legitimately, like, I got a friend who's really wealthy, and his friends have, some of them have, like, a girl in New York, and they pay for her apartment. And she's going to college, and he goes to New York 7-8 times a year. And when he does, she frees her calendar and goes out to dinner with him, goes to wherever. He sleeps there. They have sex, and it's a comfortable working relationship. So I don't know. Where's the problem with that?
Who's the victim?
Right.
Yeah, he's a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have crazy attitudes for finite beings. We have this crazy attitude like we're leaving this permanent, like, ledger of all the moral and immoral things we've done, especially when it comes to sex. It's like, it's just sex, you fucks.
Yeah.
It's great. Everybody wants it. But everybody doesn't get it. And sometimes people get rejected. And so it carries all this weight. And so it's just like, and then you're not supposed to do it because God doesn't want you to. Or you could get pregnant. And Jesus Christ, are you pro-life or are you pro-abortion? Are you pro-woman's life to choose? You should even have a say. You have a fucking penis. And like, whoa, this is so charged.
Yeah.
It's so charged.
Right.
And meanwhile, biologically, your brain is going, no, we gotta fuck. Okay, I got loads building up, and I gotta get rid of these things. You know, like, I used to have a bit called "jerk off first, then think about it." It was like my advice for everything, because there's so many moments in life where you jerk off first, and then you go, "What? What was I gonna do?
Right,
I am not calling her. I'm definitely not responding to that crazy fucking letter she sent me in the mail."
Yeah,
you know, when you get a letter from somebody, like, oh no,
it's like sobering up.
Yeah. Jerk off first. Jerk off first and know your real intentions. If you jerk off first and you still want to call someone, you really care about them. You love them.
That's right.
It's not just lust.
Yeah. That's empty bag thinking.
Yeah.
I was never good at that. Like, I reset the clock. Nowadays, I pop. Give me 24 hours. Leave me alone.
24.
I need 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
I think I need some of those pills you sell.
Need testosterone.
Yeah.
You need some TRT.
Is that legal?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I think I need some of that. I need some energy,
definitely
too.
Need some of that.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been on that shit for 10 years.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they make it a bunch of different ways now, too. They were making a spray for a while. Like, it was like under the tongue. You could, like, put drops in. And then, I don't know if they're doing that anymore, but they have a cream. The cream is good, but if you hug people, it gets on them. It's weird.
Wait, where do you rub it on you?
You rub it on your chest or your arms. So if you have sex with your wife, your wife might grow a mustache. Would be fucking very strange. That would be like a really creepy way if you were like really into dudes, but you were married to a woman. You're like, how do I bridge this gap?
Yeah,
you just like, I'm on TRT, and you would rub it all over your chest, and then immediately get it on her, and she'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Give her protein shakes, make her go to the gym a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, honey, you look good with short hair.
Put her under stress too, make her work more. That's something that happens with women. Apparently, there was a study on career women, and they don't know if it's a correlation or causation thing, because maybe the reason why they were career women in the first place is because they had a lot of testosterone. But they would notice that women who have to fend for themselves, women who have to take care of themselves, they generally have more testosterone.
Interesting.
Yeah, which makes sense. But it doesn't. You never know. Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is that like who they are, or are they developing more testosterone because they have to be out there competing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I remember I was I used Rogan for a while. I got approached by my agent, and he goes, you got an offer to do a series of commercials. I said, for what? And he goes, Rogaine. I go, but my hair's not thinning. And he's like, Yeah. So it's 5
You were in
commercials.
denial?
I was in denial about it. I was like 29, and I guess I was starting to crown a little bit, but I didn't notice. And so he goes, "Do you want to do it?" And I was like, I don't know. I'm about to move out to LA. I want to maybe do some acting. I don't want to be seen maybe on TV as the Rogan guy. And he's like, I talked to them and they said it's gonna be on like ESPN4 at 2 a.m. Don't worry about it.
Whatever.
And I go, all right, fuck it. I'm moving to LA. I got no money. I'll do it. I'll get health insurance out of it. I'm about to get married. So I record the commercials. And the tagline is, it's me in a pharmacy and I'm looking at a bottle and it's minoxidil 5. They just jacked it up from 3 to 5. And I go, 4 out of 5. The voiceover goes, 4 out of 5 doctors say this will work. And then I look at the camera and I go, 4 out of 5. I like my chances.
Oh Jesus!
So
There you are.
So I do it. I do it, and then there's that guy.
I like the nod. You're like, yeah,
so-
this is legit.
So so all of a sudden it starts running. It runs during the fucking playoffs, March Madness. Every guy I've ever met was calling me and going, I'm walking down the street, I like my chances. It was everywhere.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so they gave me a fucking supply for years. And I was using it, and my wife wouldn't let me cuddle with her because you put on your head at the end of before you go to bed. You cuddle up next to her and she get fucking hair on her neck. And it made you all greasy. My pillows were all greasy, and all it really grew was like a fuzz.
Yeah.
Did you ever try that shit?
Yeah, I tried that shit. I tried everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I'd shaved my head way earlier. It's so easy.
I think I'm going to do it tomorrow for the first time in my life.
Once I shaved my head, I was like, why am I fucking around with all this hair?
Yeah.
If I had a full head of hair, I'd shave my fucking head. I'd shave my head like every 2 weeks. I just let it grow to stubble and then shave it down again. Let it grow to stubble. It's so much easier.
How often do you shave it?
Every couple days.
You take a razor and shaving cream?
Like,
oh, you just use a buzzer?
Yeah, easy. I have one that has it's made for shaving your head. It's got like a handle on it. It's like an electric razor, just so you don't miss any spots.
How long does it take?
A couple minutes. It's easy.
Feel good?
Yeah, it's great. I don't have to think about it. That's what I like. I don't think about this. I used to worry about my hair when my hair was falling out. When something's out of your control. For people who have a full head of hair, they really don't understand this. When you start losing your hair, young Jamie, son of a bitch, when you start losing your hair, you just go, oh my God, like there's nothing I can do about this. This is terrible. Like there's nothing you can do. And then you look at like these fucking guys, like some guys that are like gross looking bald dudes, and you're like, oh my God, they used to be a kid.
Yeah.
They used to be just like me. And then one day it all fucking fell out. And they were this gross dude with the horseshoe around the bottom of the head. Like, what the fuck? That's what I'm going to be? And once you shave your head, like for me, I got lucky. I have a good shape. I have a good shape to my head, which is something that I watched. I went down a rabbit hole the other day. And I went down a plastic surgery facial reconfiguration rabbit hole because of incels connected to this conversation we were having earlier about guys who can't get laid.
Yeah.
These guys were going to this one doctor. There's a particular doctor. I think he's in Indianapolis. And he does facial reconfiguration. Like he widens your jaw. He puts implants on your cheeks and jaw. He puts implants on your fucking head. So like maybe you have a weird shaped head. Maybe your head is shaped like a turtle or something. You have a weird crest in the top of your head. This guy puts implants under your skin to give you a nice round head. And they had like before and after. And this guy was like, I always hated my head. And now my head's amazing. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, oh my God. Like I didn't even think of that.
Well, how's it look?
It looked way better.
Yeah.
But what it is like genetics are responding to symmetry. When you see poor genetics, you see something weird. Like weird symmetry. Why is his face so narrow? Why does his chin go down so low? What's weird about him? Why is his shoulders so narrow? Why are his arms so long? When you see asymmetrical or weird looking people that don't seem to, like it doesn't fit into your idea of what the accepted breeding genetics of human beings are.
Right. The Da Vinci Code.
Yeah. Is that what it is? That what the Da Vinci Code is?
Yeah, it's based on there's a certain shape of the face that defines beauty.
Fibonacci code? Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I think it's the Da Vinci Code.
I thought that was the religious thing for that movie.
Yeah, but within it, don't they talk about the symmetry of the face?
I think that's the golden
Fibonacci.
ratio.
Yeah,
That's the Fibonacci.
Oh, okay.
That's the Fibonacci code.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the guy. This is this guy.
Wow.
So they, this is an article from Cut, The Cut,
Yeah.
thecut.com. Yeah, this is exactly where I started. So I started on this, and I think it was on Dig or something like that. And then I went from that to all of the different people that have these things done. And that's something, if you think about it, man, if you just get a bum deal, you just get a bad roll of the dice, you will live your life with people that don't want to have sex with you.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to like the prostitution thing. Like, what do people want from those people? Do they want the world to be a different place than it really is? Because are we operating as if this world is exactly how it is right now? Or are we pretending that the world is how we'd like it to be one day in a utopian society? Because if we're doing that, I get how you're behaving. But if you're looking at the world around you the way it is, and you don't think these guys should be able to get prostitutes, you're an asshole.
I think that kind of boils down what libertarianism is. You know, it's whether or not we are in a evolving utopian mindset, or whether or not we're going to just say, let people be who they are and just accept how things are.
There's a little bit of that. I think I'm on both sides of that fence sometimes. You know, there's definitely people that you just want to leave them alone. Like, they're not going to figure it out. Fuck them. But then there's also people, like, we've all met people that have been in a bad place in their life and turned it around.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like giving up on people. I just don't. It's not human. It's not a human thing to just give up on people.
Right.
So I'm on both sides of that. Like, part of me wants to go, like, figure it out. And then part of me wants to go, like, we got to help people figure it out.
Yeah.
And we have to try to engineer our society like this is a problem. It's like we were talking about before about reparations for slavery, or these communities that have always been black and poor since the slave times. Like, to just leave that alone and let that sort itself out. That is never going to sort itself out. That's like a place in your garage that's fucked up and filled with trash that you think is going to figure itself out on its own. Like, you got to do something.
Right.
The garbage that you're leaving behind, that's not going to make its way to the trash. You're going to have to sort it out. You're going to have to figure out how to do it. You have to get it out there. If you have a impoverished, crime-riddled community filled with drugs and gangs, it's not going to get better. You have to do something. Someone has to do something. You can't just pretend. You can't just go further and further away from it. If we're going to act as a country, and that's what we're supposed to be, we're supposed to be a big-ass team, we're supposed to be looking at the spots on the team that are fucked up.
Yeah, you talk about that. Houston is kind of famous for this. Of literally, the garbage dumps were all put in the black neighborhoods. They just started dumping all the garbage in the poor areas with the bad schools, totally segregated. And it's the same areas that were slave shacks way back when, and now it's the same fucking generations later living in garbage.
All right, so
and
what
it
if
has
you
to
do
be
a
the
DNA
youth,
test?
because
What if you do a DNA test and you find out your great-grandfather was the guy who put the fucking garbage dump in the black neighborhood, and that's why you have a Cadillac?
Dude, my wallet's on the table at that point. Take it all. I'm so sorry.
But you didn't do anything. You're 23.
I recycle now.
Thank you.
I put stuff in the green bins, the blue bins,
You're going to save those fish,
compost bins.
those whales out there just eating plastic.
Yeah. We got to genetic engineer the whales to actually be able to digest plastic.
Yeah, figure it out. You
Then we're
fucks.
good.
It's free food.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, man. I had a guy, Boyan Slot, on the podcast. He's this really young genius who is in the middle of devising and implementing a way to gather up the plastic. He's got like this big machine that operates.
Oh, I saw it. It's got a big arm on it.
It's like and it's like got a net. It's like
Yeah.
capturing. I'm really breaking it down much like I'm paraphrasing in a shitty way, but his machine is just going to scoop plastic up, and they think they could actually reuse that plastic and make things out of it.
Yeah, I saw that. I think they ran into some technical problems with it when
Yeah.
they just used it.
Yeah, I think when they tried it out right away, it didn't work that good. But,
Yeah.
But he kind of figured that. He was like, well, there's going to be a bunch of improvements. It's like everything else.
Right.
Go buy an early Tesla. They were terrible. You know,
Dude, it may be over. Tesla may not last.
Really?
Yeah, they're saying
says?
that. Well, the problem is they call it the entrepreneurial shiny object syndrome. That's what Elon Musk has. Is like he can't stop. He has to keep. There was SpaceX, which is fucking phenomenal.
Right.
What that program has done. They are delivering stuff to space for 1/10 of the price of NASA. They have cut costs ridiculously. NASA was so fucking bloated, and which was great. But now it's like he wants to put a fucking tunnel under LA, and he wants these charging stations all around the country that are going to be solar powered, that are going to be expensive. He's just overextended himself, and now Wall Street used to love him, and now they're not buying it anymore, and it could be the end of the company. How
would it be the end of the company? How does that work?
Well, they need to be producing like 1 million cars a year to be cost effective for their assembly lines, for what it costs for their assembly lines, and they're putting out a few 100,000 a year.
Oh wow!
And they need to up production to that point, and they don't think they can do it. I shouldn't say that. I'm going to fucking tank the stock.
Yeah, it's like how many different places can you charge at now? I always charge here or I charge at home.
Yeah.
But how many places is it real easy to charge? Can you find a lot of spots?
I have no idea. But I know he's trying to make it really universal.
It's great if you're driving it just to work. Like I do. I drive it to the store or drive it here. It's great.
Yeah.
It's the best car I've ever driven. But it's not ready for like long ass trips. It takes too much time.
My friend just bought I think it's a Mitsubishi, and it's a hybrid, but how it works is it goes all electric until you run out of the electric charge, and then the motor kicks in, as opposed to like my Prius, which is just alternating back and forth all the time.
Right. The Prius gets ridiculous gas mileage though, right?
It's amazing.
What do you get?
Probably 50.
Wow, that's hilarious. Looks like dog shit though.
I hate it.
Why do you deal with it? Why do you do that to yourself? You and I have had this conversation a million times where I'm like, Greg, get a muscle car.
I want a Mustang.
Want one.
That's all I want.
I want one. The new ones are amazing. And matter of fact, they have a new Bullitt Mustang.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They have a Bullitt model. Brand new 2019 green, emerald green, dope ass fucking Mustang with, I think it's more than 460 horsepower. It's very fast. It's an up-tuned version of the one that's in the GT, so it's the Coyote Generation 3 Mustang engine. Look at that. That's it. Baby.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, see,
beautiful.
it even says Bullitt on the back. See the back badge? That's a Bullitt Mustang. That's
You're
the 2019. And you get in a stick shift. Like a fucking man, Fitzsimmons.
You definitely got to get the stick shift.
You get the fucking stick shift. You drive around, your balls are going to grow back.
I need them back. I need the.
It's a beautiful car.
I need those TRT. Is that the testosterone? I need that. And I need
replacement
this.
therapy. You need both these things in your life.
The Prius is like.
Shut your mouth with that Prius.
I know.
Stop talking about it. Look at that Mustang Bullitt 2019. It's like the 50th anniversary of the movie or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
When was that movie? 40th? 68. So yeah, more than 50th. Look at that, man. Woo.
Wow.
God damn, that's a car.
Yeah.
That's a motherfucker of a car. They make great American cars right now.
Yeah.
Right now is a great time.
And
so look at the two of them, the old one and the new one.
Oh, wow. And the great thing is the gas mileage on these cars isn't that bad anymore.
Very good. Yeah, they have intelligent computers running all the fuel injection and everything, and the tune of the engine's all done with computers now. You gotta get one, bro. Come on, stop fucking around.
Yeah.
What are we going to get younger? We're not.
You know what it
younger.
is? It's the whole college thing.
Shut the fuck up. You're a talented comedian. You make plenty of loot.
Yeah.
You're going to spend money on this stupid fucking Prius. That thing is not free. You have to pay for that thing.
Yeah.
Get a goddamn Mustang. How much one of those Bullitt Mustangs? I'm trying to sell it. Jamie, why do you think it's funny? You know I'm right. You know I'm right. Right?
I know you're right too.
Need it.
That's why it's
How
funny.
much is that?
At the end of my life.
No. Now, Fitzsimmons.
So what if my kids? No, I'm saying at the end of my life, when I look back, I'm going to go, "Oh, my kid went to college. Fuck him. He could take a loan."
Do you have the room for it in your driveway if you had a third car?
We park on the street. We live in Venice.
46,000. That's not much, buddy.
It's not bad.
That's a good deal. Get that fucking thing. You park on the street
Maybe
like
I'll
a
start
savage.
like a Kickstarter fund or something for my car. You think people would do that?
No. They would say, just do some gigs and put some money away, you son of a bitch. I know you fucking sell out places. Shut the fuck up. Some dudes are just so frugal. And I always find that so funny because I'm such a slob.
But that's how we were when we started in Boston.
Oh,
you
yeah.
were driving a fucking, was it a Celica GT or something?
No,
that you were,
it was a Mitsubishi Starion.
It was like a little sporty looking car.
Yeah.
And you were leasing it. And I was like, who the fuck leases a new car when they've been doing comedy for 2 years? And I had an 84 Volkswagen Rabbit. and I just remember you had a fucking you had a jacked up stereo system in it. and I remember it got fucking repossessed.
No, that was a different car. That was the Dodge Daytona Shelby. I'd gotten rid of the one, and then I got the second one.
And you didn't give a fuck. You went to the impound lot and you jumped the fence to get the radio out, right?
Yeah, I had a stereo I put in it. I installed the stereo. I jumped the fence and pulled the fucking stereo out of the Daytona. Because I knew I wasn't going to be able to pay for that fucking car anymore. Because it was actually, that was the first year of comedy. That was my first year. I actually had got that while I was still teaching. And I was still, I was teaching at Boston University. I was teaching Taekwondo there. I was teaching at this school that I was running in Revere, and I was delivering newspapers. So I was making a little bit of money, and I was really stupid. And when I found out that I could get a car, like a brand new Dodge Daytona Shelby in 1988 or 1989, and I could lease it. They would lease it to me.
Yeah.
With what I was like, perfect, let's do it.
Right.
But then somewhere along the line, I had decided I was really going to dedicate myself to stand up. I was like, I'm half-assing this. And someone had told me that. One of the guys that I was doing open mic nights, he said, you were really funny like 6 months ago. But he goes, but it seems like you've fallen off a little. And he said it to me, and I didn't even respond. I remember like, fuck, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. He's right. I'm half-assing it. And then that night, I was like, fuck this. I'm quitting everything. So I decided I was going to quit teaching. I quit teaching at BU. I quit teaching at my school. I shut my school down. I was like, I'm done. I gotta be a comic, 100%. And then I had no money.
So you just said, I'll live off whatever I make doing stand-up at that point.
I was trying to get odd jobs during the day.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have anything that I was dedicated to.
Right.
And when I was teaching, I was very dedicated to teaching. It meant a lot to me. Like martial arts meant a lot to me. So technique means a lot to me. So when I was teaching people, I was very specific. Like it meant a lot.
Yeah.
And I would teach people and I'd bring them to tournaments. And, I'd raised kids from like white belt all the way up to like blue belt and I brought them to tournaments. And it was exciting. It was really fun. It meant a lot to me, though. It meant enough to me that I was not going to half-ass it. I was like, I'm not going to half teach these people, because when I was teaching I was very serious about it. It meant a lot. So I was like, once I have a thing, I'm like, that's the thing. All these other things just get in the way of the thing. I have to just eliminate those. And so that's what I did. And then they took my fucking car. But I got the stereo back.
Yeah,
but
you used to
we were always like that.
I remember because I was living with your girlfriend and you were coming over every night. Fucking, you'd come from like Cappuccino's, the restaurant around the corner, with fucking takeout, like nice meals. I was eating fucking ramen noodles.
I spent every penny I had.
You spent everything.
I didn't put anything away ever.
Come from Blockbuster with fucking 5 movies under your arm.
Yeah, you were living with my girlfriend and another dude.
A gay guy named Mike Coconut.
He's a great guy.
He was a great dude. He
was the first guy I ever met who had a Bowflex.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
He was the first guy I met who was growing marijuana in his closet.
Oh, shit.
With lights.
That's dangerous in Boston in the 80s.
That's right.
You could go to jail.
That was some skunk weed. We used to sit around smoking that skunk weed.
You could go to jail for that.
Yeah.
Massachusetts is 100% free now. 100% legal. Go to a store and buy it.
Yeah.
How fucking beautiful is that?
I know.
Illinois House passes marijuana legalization bill.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Sends
huge.
to Pritzker. I don't know what that
the
means.
Governor.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Legalize it, Illinois. Yeah. See, and then get a gang of it out to the south side of Chicago. Speaking of disenfranchised neighborhoods that are not going to fix themselves.
I know.
That's another one. There was 5 murders there last week. It's crazy.
Dude, and the schools are so fucking bad. There was this really good documentary called America is Me. and it tracks Oak Park, which is like a kind of a mixed suburb in Chicago where there's black and white students, and they just track the lives of like 10 students, and 5 black and 5 white, and how they can be in the same place and have such different experiences. You know, black families where the fucking kid is stressed out, he's not doing well in school, and they're like, the teacher's frustrated, but he's like, yeah, he's got a single mom, and they just lost the apartment because she lost her job, and now they're living with an aunt, and you know, there's all these circumstances going on. And then you've got the white kids who are taking SAT prep classes, and they got a mom who's not working that drives them to their different sports. It's a great documentary.
It's a different world. I mean, this is the same conversation we were having before the podcast started about this guy that we know that thinks that homeless people are lazy. Yeah. And we were like, look, there are people out there that were born on third base, and they fucking swear to God they hit a triple. And they think, well, I fucking didn't have my shoes tied, and I didn't do this, and I missed out on birthday parties, but nobody shot you. Yeah. You know, nobody robbed you. Your uncle didn't rape you. You're not in jail. You didn't watch your brother get killed. You know, like, come on, man. Like, there's way worse hands that people get dealt. Way worse.
And just the overall vague sense of
entitlement.
Well, I mean, saying on the other side of being surrounded by people that are not achieving.
Oh, yeah.
And being exposed to people that don't think that finishing high school or college is a priority.
Right.
And so it's very hard to come up with that concept yourself, especially in the absence of like 2 functioning parents.
The only thing that helps them now is the internet, because you could lock on to like David Goggins or someone like that, or someone who was also born into just terrible situations like that, and you can listen to his story and read his or listen to his audiobook, which is fantastic. Read his book and understand there's people like him that used to be like me. They made it through, and now they have a story, and I can do that too. It's possible, and then that becomes your guiding light. But the idea that we're all on the same fucking starting block, it's just stupid as fuck. Yeah. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's a bad way to look at the world. Yeah. And when people get upset at, you know, certain aspects of life without acknowledging that, like...
Yeah, and then you've got people that live in abandoned factory towns, whether it's, you know, in the Appalachians or it's in, you know, Detroit, where you had jobs and your grandfather had a job and that was it. And it was just, it was like there was no diversity of work in that area. And then the fucking plant closes and it's just despair.
I have a good friend, and his family is from coal miners. And, I mean, the way he describes it is like, you have never seen that kind of poverty before. You've never seen that kind of poverty. When you're in these coal towns and people are just all fucked up on pills, like the whole town's fucked up on pills. It's like, you haven't seen poverty like that. Wow. It's dark, and then there's despair, and there's no exit strategy. There's no one to model around you. No one's there to give you advice. Everyone's a criminal. Everyone's trying to get by. Everyone's selling pills, robbing people, shooting people. And this is just a segment. This is just what happens with despair, right? And this is just despair in that that context. And then there's despair in South Central LA. There's despair in East LA. There's despair in, you know, really fucked up Mexican neighborhoods in LA.
Well, that's why we were talking about, I think you had a guest on that talked about how everything's getting, robots are taking over. That's the book by
Andrew Yang. It was probably the presidential candidate.
Yeah, talking about how they're going to subsidize the whole population.
Yes. They call it universal basic income.
But with that, you know, it sounds like it may happen, that type of a system. But there's still going to be despair because you still need a sense of purpose. You still need to work and feel good about yourself.
That's the counter to that, yeah. And I agree with both things, unfortunately. It's like, I agree that most likely automation is going to take over. Here's the thing. When people need purpose, they still need purpose. They need purpose now. But would $1,000 a month, if everyone knew they had $1,000 a month coming from the government, would it make you more invested in being an American? Would it make you more invested in keeping this thing running? Like you're actually getting paid from it. You're looking at America like it's generating income, and you're getting paid from it. You're getting enough money so you can eat and have a roof over your head. Like if the three of us got $1,000 a month, that's $3,000 a month. There's a place we could get with the three of us is like $1,500 a month, and then the rest of it we would just put into food and whatever. And that's you could live. Right. Weed, hookers. You would live like that. That's a livable wage for enough. If you get enough people to get $1,000 a month, it's not perfect.
So
it's
the
not
question
great.
is, how does it make you feel? about yourself and about your country.
But yeah, and this is the question too. Does that stop you from pursuing your dreams? Because it's not like you're getting 50 grand a year. Like if you were getting 50 grand a year, like man, it'd be hard to get me to work. If I just had free 50 grand every year, like how much do you really need? If you have an apartment, like it's not easy. I know folks that are making 50 grand. Like, hey, you know, you'd be surprised. You don't really save much, and you know, if you have a car and a lease and either a mortgage or an apartment payment, I get it. But if you had 50 grand a year, it would be really hard for you to grind. It'd be really hard for you to really go after something. Just be obsessed, unless that's just your style. Unless that's just who you are.
Well, it seems like I don't know if it's a more manageable way to just socialize medicine and make higher education free.
I think both those things are imperative. I really do. I think especially education. Why should it cost money to figure out how to make people more intelligent and contribute better? Wouldn't you want less losers? Wouldn't you want more educated people that have a better understanding of how the world works? Of course you would.
Especially since we're a service economy. Yeah. We're not a manufacturing economy anymore. We need people that understand how to manage and to be entrepreneurial and, you know, communicate.
But just be educated. I mean, if there's more people that are smarter, then you have more competition, then you have more productivity. I mean, it would just be better for everybody. You don't want ignorant people. You don't want it.
Meanwhile, education, my son's going to college. It's fucking $65,000 a year.
That's so much
times
money.
4 years, times two kids, that's $600,000 a year. What American's got an extra $600,000? So your kid is now saddled with a debt that he'll be paying off forever. He's underwater.
Well, it's not $600,000 a year. You're saying $65,000 a year and two kids.
65, that's 70, 130.
$130,000. You mean 60? You mean forever?
Years, yeah,
for 4 years.
For 4 years times two kids.
I was like 650 grand a year.
That's like 600 total
over the course of their college careers. Yeah, your base, and you have to make more than $1 million to have that. By the way.
Yeah.
Because you got to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And you're not just only spending money on that. You got to spend money on living expenses and your mortgage and your house, and so that, you know, you're really talking about $2 million probably.
And don't think your kid's coming out of college into a job that's going to be able to support himself.
Oh
You're still going to be subsidizing their phone and their car insurance and probably part of their rent for the next 5-6 years
Plane
after
tickets
that.
when they come to visit.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about that over these 4 years, you really, if you want 100 grand, you kind of have to make 200.
Mm-hmm. And then you got insurance. If you're on the market as a family of four to get health insurance in California, you're paying $20,000 a year, between $15,000 and $20,000 a year, which means, again, you got to earn 40.
A lot of people are moving out of California because of state tax. A lot of people realize, you know, I can live in Nevada and not pay any state tax.
Yeah.
Why would I want to pay state tax? What am I doing? That's a lot of money.
It is.
It's like 10%, right?
Yeah, and then if you live in New York City, you have to pay a state and a city tax.
Oh, you dirty
Big
bitches.
fat fucking city tax.
Oh, is that to keep the rats?
That's to keep the electricity going for the guys that are taking a train in from Connecticut every day and working on Wall Street that aren't paying the fucking city tax.
Fucking communists. Yeah, the people who don't pay the city tax are dirty.
Yep.
They work in the city and they don't pay the tax.
That's right.
Must pay the tax. Those estates in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Those weird, soulless, gigantic, Great Gatsby-like estates.
Darien, Connecticut, and they've all got fucking Ferraris.
A buddy of mine
with
works at a high
automatic
school.
Transmissions.
A buddy of mine works at a high school in Connecticut where all these rich kids go to school. He works there. Shout out to my boy Tommy Jr. Yeah, he works there and like sees these people, these giant fucking huge lawns, and thinking about buying a place there.
I want a big lawn. I want to be like a Kennedy.
I'd like to live next to a bunch of people that are on pills, out of their fucking mind, trying to make meaning out of life with $3 billion in the bank.
I want people whose heads have been reshaped by a guy in Indianapolis.
Yeah. If you have a flat head, though, there's something girls don't want to fuck a dude with a flat head.
No, I'm going to shave my head, but it's not going to look good.
Flat. What?
I got a bad head.
You're fine.
Well, I'm too pasty. I'm pasty white.
Turn sideways. Dude, shave it. You're fine.
Really?
Yeah, we'll shave
I'm doing
it right
tomorrow.
Now. Do we have the clippers from the time?
I'll do it right now. Really?
Are they over there?
Yeah.
Are they charged up?
No.
Probably. If it only went halfway and then cut off. You should have that. That should be your new look, like Criss Cross. Remember they used to have their clothes on backwards?
Yeah, that's right.
You shave half the side of your head. shave one side, leave the other side. And people are like, what is going on? You're like, fuck you. I'm handicapped. Look at my head.
Yeah, half the crowd. I'm doing bald jokes for half the crowd.
Yeah, the other half you're doing like going bald jokes.
Dude, I had Ari Shaffir on my podcast one time, and we were at. You ever do a podcast above the Comedy Cellar? They've got a studio up there.
No, I haven't.
Bobby Kelly started it, and it's
nice.
I forget what it's called, and so I'm up there doing my podcast with Ari, and it's an apartment. It's like there's a bedroom and a bathroom, and then the studio. And we got to talking about torture, and I go, you ever been waterboarded? He's like, no. I go, this is a bathroom right here. I go, you want me to waterboard you? And you know, Ari's like, yeah.
Sure,
Yep,
let's do it.
Sure, let's do it. So we go inside, and I put a towel over his face, and he leans over backwards, and his head is below his body in the shower stall. The nozzle comes off the wall, and I spray down his face, and nothing. And then all of a sudden, his body's convulsing, his legs are kicking, he's fucking screaming, water is shooting out of his nose, he's choking, and it went on for like a couple minutes, and I'm fucking dying. And then he starts laughing, and we were just on the podcast laughing without saying a word for probably 5 minutes. And then he goes, want me to do it to you? I'm like, fuck yeah. And then he waterboarded me, and the same thing happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Waterboarding is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
can't.
that's real torture.
Yeah.
But it's a weird torture because you're not permanently injuring someone. Like when you think of torture, you think of like someone cutting someone and lighting them on fire, shit like that.
What's the torture you would least want to be done to you?
It's a good question. Maybe that one. Maybe waterboarding. I don't know. I get like electrocution. They electrocute you.
Ozarks, spoiler alert. Remember that?
Oh yeah, don't say nothing.
Woof.
Yeah.
I think being made to be cold for a long period of time, cold and they say no sleep is actually the worst thing you can do to somebody.
Right, like Chinese water torture. They just have the water drip on you.
Yeah.
Drip. It just keeps you awake.
For
Drip.
days.
Keeps you awake. Drip.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. If you're ever falling asleep while you're driving, folks, get if you stop at a gas station and get like a soda or a water and some ice, and then get like wet towel. Get a wet towel with ice in it and just rub your face. Because I used to smack myself in the face when I was coming back from gigs.
Yeah.
And I'd be driving on the Mass Pike and there's no one on the road.
Smacking yourself in the face.
Just sticking my head out the window, you know, just trying to stay awake.
Yeah.
Because you just, something about the hypnotic white lines just
Dude,
dot,
I used to
dot,
fucking,
dot, dot, dot,
I used to drive from Boston to New York like once a week for like a year and a half.
Oh my God.
I had a place I could crash in the city, and I'd finish my gigs on Saturday night. I'd be at the fucking Worcester Aku Aku. The show would end at like, you know, midnight, and I'd get in my car and I'd drive the three and a half hours to the city, and I regularly slept while driving and then snapped out of it. Like, how fucking crazy is that? I once wrecked a car. I fell asleep on the highway once.
How old were you?
I was in college, and I had to go down to Providence for a court date. I got into a fight in Providence, and I got arrested, spent the weekend in jail, and then I had to come back for the court appearance. So I borrowed my ex-girlfriend's car, and I'd been up the night before all night drinking. And so I drove down, and I did the court appearance, got out of it, and I'm driving home, and I'm on 95 North, and I just fucking fell asleep. And I hit the guardrail, spun out, hit a truck.
Oh my God.
And thank God I got, I cut my mouth. I hit my mouth on the steering wheel.
This is probably no airbags too, right?
No airbags. No, it was old Toyota Corolla. Fucking totaled the car.
Oh no.
My ex-girlfriend's car.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How'd she feel?
She was all
mad at
right
you?
with it. She was
Really?
all right with it.
She's
Yeah.
happy you were alive?
She was a great girl.
Oh.
Yeah. Cindy Murtha. Shout out to Cindy.
So you probably were relieved because of the court date, right?
Yeah.
You're relieved. Oh, got off. Can't believe I got off.
Right.
And then you're driving back. Bang. Fuck.
What a feeling, man. You talk about adrenaline rushing into your body. That's second. It can't get no more intense than that.
Kid I knew from high school died that way.
Oh, no shit. Really?
Yeah, he hit like the underside of a bridge.
Damn.
Yeah.
If he was asleep or he was drinking?
Fell asleep.
Damn.
Yeah. Happens all the time, man.
My father was a big drinker, and he was driving home drunk one time, and my mom was following him in another car. That's how complicit alcoholism was back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Wives were just like, all right, honey, I'll follow you because you're drunk.
Oh, my God.
And so he's driving, and he falls asleep at the wheel, and he
no.
goes head first into a tree,
Oh, Jesus.
cuts his jugular vein and his arm, the veins in his arm. My mom drives to get an ambulance. There's no cell phones. They come. By the time they get there, he has no vital signs. He's fucking dead.
God.
And they brought him back to life, and he was in the hospital for like 2 weeks.
Well, how'd they bring him back to life?
I have no fucking idea. I was
They
like
have some stuff set
5.
aside.
I was like 4 or 5. They had what? Put aside?
I said they have some stuff they set aside.
Yeah.
They really like a guy.
You're right.
And use that pet cemetery injection. Bring him back.
That's right.
Bring him back.
Spike him.
I
in
didn't see the new
chest.
Pet Cemetery. I heard it was, I heard it was,
Is that based on the Stephen King book?
Yeah. The book is great.
Yeah.
The first movie was all right. It was all right. They're fun. They're campy. The difference between his books and his movies, though, are so profound.
Yeah.
His books are terrifying. His books like get to the heart of the worst aspects of human nature and
Right.
demonic possession.
The one Maximum Overdrive would be a great one to remake now.
Yeah,
where
right?
all the fucking robots or any
Yeah.
machine takes over and kills everyone.
Yeah.
It'd be a great
No
one.
shit, right? Yeah, to have it like with modern electric trucks and shit. Yeah.
The Shining was the only one that was as scary as the book.
Well, it was different. Very different than the book. The Shining.
was it?
Yeah, I read the book. The Shining, the movie with Jack Nicholson, apparently bothered Stephen King because Jack Nicholson was like on edge from the beginning of the movie. Like he was always crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was always like, he's always just kind of barely fucking hanging on.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing.
Right.
And in the book, the guy clearly becomes mad.
Right.
He becomes possessed. He's a normal guy who's just struggling. He's trying to be a writer, and he uses this as an opportunity to write, and then the house takes him over.
Right.
It's more
More of an
sinister.
arc.
Yeah. It's there's nothing you can do. That's him getting pumped up for the scene.
Oh yeah.
He's getting fired up. Look at him.
Yeah. Was that Kubrick?
Yeah. Kubrick. Look at he doesn't want to get killed by a fucking axe wielding Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I could see that. Once Kubrick takes over, you're not going to have a lot of say in how the thing is directed.
Well, not only that, Kubrick put all this moon landing stuff in it. There was all these moon references.
Really?
Yeah, the kid had an Apollo sweater on. Like there's someone made a documentary that was all the numbers and all the things that are attached to that movie. Room 237, that's what it's about. Because it's 237,000 miles to the moon when they made the launch. So he's got USA Apollo sweater on, the little boy did. There's a bunch of things. There's a ton of things that Kubrick did on purpose. Because he would put weird stuff like that in his movies. He's a fascinating guy, man.
Yeah.
Do you know he was like a high-level mathematician?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, he would do high-level mathematics for fun while he wasn't doing movies.
Wow. Yeah, they had an exhibit at LACMA in L.A. of a Stanley Kubrick exhibit for like 6 months. It was fucking wild.
That place should be flattened. They should take all the homeless people and move them there. That place is the biggest abomination of all of Los Angeles. I went there. There's a clear plastic box that was a piece of art.
in it. Yeah.
Like, this box is art. It's
Yeah.
like, this is the art. This is our art. It's our space.
Yeah.
We made this box, and this is our art. Like, what? Like, they have it roped off so you don't sit on the box.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a plexiglass box. Like, get the fuck out of my face with this.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. Another piece of art was like people throwing basketballs into nets. There was like videos of basketballs, like over and over and over again. People throwing basketballs. I'm like, hey, fuck you. Fuck you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. You don't, this is not art. You know this is not art.
Right.
You know. But there was some art there when there was some of that stuff. There was some things you're like, hey, fuck you with this box.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. And you get paid for this?
Yeah.
Who's paying you? Is this taxpayer funded? Isn't it? Isn't it?
LACMA?
Yes.
Yeah, they probably have to pay the people to rent their art.
Bro, the fucking real estate they're living in.
I
Yeah.
just heard something recently about museums that only something like 7% of like most collections are what you see. There's so much stuff in storage, like cool shit that people might want to see that there's not room for because the buildings aren't big enough.
Really?
And lots of like instruments, for instance, 300-year-old violins get used by like kids because it's cheaper to just keep them in use and send them around than it is to just store it and hope and like restore it eventually, like after it's unused for 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
Because of all the old horsehair or whatever it is they used to make each thing. But there's really cool art by probably Da Vinci or who knows what's hidden in some of these places. But people that work there know and get to see some of it.
You know what's interesting to me? People that buy dinosaur skeletons. Apparently there's a giant market for them in China. They'll spend like $1 million and buy a dinosaur skeleton. You walk in this motherfucker's house. Fuck your artwork, bitch.
That's pretty
I got
badass.
a goddamn T-Rex in my living
like
room.
that.
You imagine?
Yeah.
You walk into some guy's palace, some emerald palace, and you open these 2 fucking teak wood doors, and you see a dinosaur in the middle of his front entrance. That's what they're going for. So they're buying these
There's
things.
nothing.
Nicolas Cage returns stolen Mongolian dinosaur skull he bought at gallery. Tyrannosaurus. What is that animal? Tyrannosaurus batar. Have you heard of that?
No.
Batar. Well, it will be repatriated. I like that word. After it was bought by the actor from Beverly Hills Gallery in 2007, a T-Rex skull. Wow. What? He bought it for $276,000.
That's a pretty good deal.
Well, it was 2007, I think he said.
Yeah.
Shit wasn't worth as much back then. Son.
Fuck, man. Now, nothing stops you in your tracks, and like Museum of Natural History is a good fucking dinosaur skeleton.
Especially the ones that eat things, like eat meat. I don't want that big ass stupid plant-eating brontosaurus. Get that bitch out of my face. What is that? That's a weird elephant.
He's a fucking vegan. Who wants to hang out with a vegan?
Get him out of here. I'm not scared. I want to see teeth. Let me see teeth and claws. What a shit design, huh? Giant head, little tiny baby arms.
Yeah.
Like, what a shit design.
Right.
Like, what is he doing with those arms? What the fuck is the purpose of those arms? And there's the only animal that I can think of that developed that way.
And was that, was he a plant eater?
No. T-Rex?
Oh, T-Rex. Yeah, I'm thinking of the
T-Rex
other one.
was... They don't know if T-Rex was a predator or if T-Rex was a scavenger. They think by the shape... There's some talk that by the shape of his bones, that what he might have been doing was using those bones to crush giant dinosaur bones.
Uh-huh.
And that like he might be surviving on dead things.
Yeah.
And that they also had some speculation that they might have had... They don't know what they really looked like because they don't know the skin color. They had some speculation that they might have had faces like vultures, like red, fucked up, really brightly colored faces, just to let you know they're disgusting. And they're here to, because like when you see vultures, it's not a coincidence that they're the grossest fucking looking animal on the planet and all they eat is dead shit.
Yeah.
And they're big.
Right.
Vultures are fucking big, man.
Right.
That's a big animal flopping around with these giant wings, but we're not nearly as impressed by them as we are with an eagle. You see, like, the vulture's never going to be the fucking national bird. Get out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah.
We kill it ourselves, bro. We're not here for
Right.
some scavenger-ass, fucked-up, red-faced, stupid bird.
Yeah.
The Smithsonian, I think it opens on the 8th of June. They have this brand new deep time.
Oh, that's an Irish elk.
Natural history dinosaur exhibit. And this is some of the highlights of what they have there. They have this like T-Rex
Wow.
eating a Triceratops.
Yeah,
And then
Jesus
this giant
Christ.
Irish elk, a saber-toothed cat. Bunch of cool stuff. And like you're just talking about it, so I'm sure they might have some of these answers to the questions you
And
have.
this is where? Which?
DC Smithsonian Natural
DC's,
History.
huh? When does this come out?
It's opening now, so like they just built it and they're just doing all the press for it. And all that. Seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, who owns the dinosaur skeletons? Who owns that?
The Smithsonian, I think, it's free because it's U.S. taxes. So some of the stuff, I guess, we technically own. I guess I don't know. I don't.
Is it DC or New York? One of them doesn't charge for any of the museums. I think it might be DC.
Yeah, it's the Smithsonian stuff is all free. When it's open, it should be free.
My friend John Dudley knows a dude who owns a ranch in Montana, and they found a T-Rex on his property.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Found a bone out there moving around stuff on his property. Like, what the fuck is this? Starts cleaning it up, finds something, brings in some paleontologists. They start digging, and they're like, whoa, daddy.
Yeah.
We got a T-Rex here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fucking job. People get obsessed with that, and they go, "I'm gonna be an archaeologist when I get older." And then you're standing in a fucking desert with a toothbrush for 8 hours a day trying to find a bone. Fuck that.
What was that dude? Sam, the guy's name from Sam O'Neill? Sam Neill from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be him. Everybody wants to be Jeff Goldblum, the guy who shows up with a sexy jacket and says, life finds a way. It appears that life finds a way. World's biggest T-Rex discovered. Jesus Christ, what is this? Estimated 19,500 pounds.
Whoa.
Holy
Damn.
shit. Holy shit.
And what can those arms even do? Look at those
the
things.
arms are weird, man. They're so weird. And look how big the feet and legs are and the giant ass head. That's the thing, that thinking like that this wasn't something that chased things down. It just sort of bent over and just jacked whatever was on the ground.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like I think there was some speculation. Hey, we should Google this, because there was something about the physics of its body that it wouldn't be able to run fast because it's so weirdly shaped. They're like trying to figure out, why is its head so big? It has little tiny ass arms and these big ass legs, this big fucking tail. Like, can that thing run? Like, what it would? And then there's also some speculation that the atmosphere was way different back then, and the atmosphere was much more oxygen rich, and maybe things just were different. You know, like the physics.
They could run longer and faster.
Like maybe even the physics of Earth was a little different in terms of like the way we interacted with the gravity. We interacted with the atmosphere rather.
Yeah.
The atmosphere like held them up somehow or another. Like it was thicker. But I read things when I'm high and I don't remember what the fuck I read.
I think this is just saying that it should have been slower maybe than like they were shown in the Jurassic Park. It wouldn't have been running that fast.
Here it says running would have broken an adult Tyrannosaurus Rex's legs. See, I don't, but, okay, Google this, so now we know that there's people that think that he couldn't run because of the shape. Google, the atmosphere was different during the Jurassic period. Because there was some, I mean, it might have been horseshit. It was just an article that was written about how, like, we have to take into account the whole world was, like, different. Before that giant asteroid came and fucked up everything and slammed into Chichen Itza. You know, that...
It says that the oxygen levels might have been about 20 to 30% higher during that time period. So it might have been harder to breathe, I guess. I'm not sure.
Harder to breathe?
A sudden drop in oxygen from roughly 30% to the atmosphere, of the atmosphere to about 10% may have contributed to mass extinctions.
Oh, so from the impact, the dinosaurs. So that was one of the things they thought killed. There's a bunch of different ideas they have of how quickly the dinosaurs died off. But one of the more interesting ones that I saw recently was that they all died almost instantly.
It says it would have made it more humid with higher levels of carbon dioxide and more likely more cloud cover. It just says gasping for breath, harder to. I just keep seeing that stuff. It says harder to breathe during that.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with the way they moved, though. There was something about. I remember reading something about the way a T-Rex moved, but it's a fucking mystery because it's not like you look at a crocodile, you're like, oh, I get it. He uses those 4 legs to get you with his big fat face. You know, it makes sense.
Right.
Then you look at a T-Rex, like, why are you up in the air like that? Why is your head so big? What's with the little legs? The ones in the front? What are those things? What's with the arms? What's up with this weird body you have?
The weight of that head is illogical.
Giant head.
Yeah.
It's a crazy head.
He needs to go to Indianapolis, get that thing fucking shaved down.
He's an insult. Maybe that's why he's so mad. can't fuck.
Yeah, how did they fuck?
How do they fuck? How do they fuck? Jesus Christ, with that tail. How do you get at the pussy with that tail? That's a crazy-ass tail.
Yeah.
You'd have to come at it from the side. You'd have to tackle her. You'd have to blindside her, tackle her, get a leg up in the air, and get in like that. You'd have to get one of them legs. But then what the fuck? You have no arms.
You got no
so
arms.
So you can't.
No, she can't give you a
get laid.
hand job.
T-Rex tiny arms may have been vicious weapons. Save it, nerd. Save it, nerd. What? Like, unlike his fucking giant face filled with huge swords, he's got a huge head filled with swords.
I don't know.
These
They're
small
saying
arms are
it
a
might be
necessary
the
trade-off.
remnants of little wings of flightless birds.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was looking up. I thought maybe at one point I'd heard that there's one scientist thought those were like remnants of wings.
Oh, that makes sense.
And they weren't actually maybe arms, but they were wings.
Well, that totally makes sense when you think about like ostriches and shit like that they used to have wings and they turned into those things. Let me see it again. Let me see his fucking little shitty arms. That makes way more sense. That makes way more sense. They're the remnants of 4 wings. Because like that, if you think about what an ostrich looks like, you could kind of morph an ostrich into a T-Rex, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a tail, but they do have those fucked up legs, giant-ass legs, and a weird body, and a fucking head. And when they look at you like they look right through you. Like, you don't mean shit. Like, if you got run over by a truck in front of an ostrich, they wouldn't even flinch.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about you.
Now,
and just like a dinosaur, they just have this bird face.
Yeah.
They have zero compassion for you.
Yeah, ostriches have no empathy. That's why they have small arms. They never hug anybody.
No, assholes. All those fucking creatures that fly around or used to, they can all suck it. All birds are gross.
I love when people keep them as pets.
See if you can find a bird as a
My
pet.
bird loves me. Yeah, keep your window open.
Yeah.
See what happens.
T-Rex used to look like vulture. This is a weird one. They don't even know they were covered in feathers. They think they might have been covered in feathers.
Oh.
That's a more recent speculation. They think that all dinosaurs were covered in feathers.
Wow.
Yeah, or most of them. That's why, you see chickens. Chicken literally is a dinosaur. Just one that lived. One that made it. Oh, that's one. It's creepy looking. No, there was one where it had a red face. There was some, yeah, that's it right there. That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, that's how they had it done. With like feathers and shit. Feathers and a big old red face. I mean, I don't know why we're attached to like one idea what that fucking thing looked like. All we have is bones. We have no idea what the skin was like. Easily could have been covered in feathers.
Isn't it amazing that every kid, I don't know if it's girls too, but every boy gets fascinated with dinosaurs at a certain age. Isn't that weird?
Oh, yeah.
It's like archetypal. There's something deep in your brain that wants to know and connect with dinosaurs when you're like 4 or 5 years old.
Because it's such a fucking wild Hail Mary by nature. And they ruled for so long. And they were snuffed out by a rock. Like, if that rock didn't hit Earth, we would be under the reign of these vicious fucking reptiles roaming the planet, eating everything. We would have never evolved to where we are. We would have been hiding in little holes in the ground. We'd be little mammals. That's as good as you're ever going to get. You're never going to develop a fucking city. Good luck, bitch. There's raptors everywhere. They're just running around jacking
You don't
things.
think Homo sapiens would have...
Never made it. Never got to that part. We were moles. For hundreds of millions of years, we were these weird fucking creatures. And then from 65 million years ago, that mole evolved into a human being, according to these fucking scientists. Oh, they're fancy.
They have an agenda.
$65,000 a year that you have to pay for education.
Yeah.
This book I was just listening to about music and the brain talked about the first instrument found is this, I think it was like a rib flute of like an elephant or something that's like 50,000 years old. But because it's a flute, they go, that's probably most likely not the first instrument being used because it was probably drums. And to get to a flute that's making sounds, it's a big evolution.
Yeah.
Like how farther back do you think they were just using drums before they had language,
Oh, that's a good point.
The haka in New Zealand, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is just a lot of sounds and grunts.
Yeah, screaming.
But that was a way to communicate.
Yeah, like, what is the accepted timeline for the invention of language? Let's take a guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but let's take a guess. I want to say language was invented 100,000 years ago. What do you think? I don't even think it's that long.
Well, it would have been...
I'm going to say it's 40. I'm going to say language was invented 40,000 years ago.
Was Homo sapien, right? Is that
yes,
first one to...
But Homo sapien didn't always have language.
Right.
Homo sapien, I think, is 250,000 plus years old. There's like the argument from like 250, it gets shaky to like 350, 400, whatever it could be. But they think somewhere around there.
And the other thing is like it intersected with, was it Neanderthal man that came before him? And originally they just thought that one ended and the next one started.
Yeah.
But then in fact they actually existed together
Yep.
for a long time. And they fought.
Yep. And they fucked. And Neanderthal was around way longer. Neanderthal survived for 500,000 years. So Neanderthal was alive way longer than humans have been alive, than modern Homo sapien humans.
Yeah.
What's that?
Everything I keep finding just says like it starts with ancient Egypt. Like, that can't be right. Like
maybe written
2600
language.
BC.
That's probably like written language.
That's what
How about spoken language?
That's
The
what I guess
origin date of spoken language.
Well, and Neanderthal was bigger and stronger, but Homo sapien they organized. Yeah.
Well,
They worked.
I would like
they
to
worked
know
as a group.
what really happened, because Neanderthals actually had bigger brains.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they're also built way better, way different. So it might have been their bigger brains was to control their much stronger body, because they were like 5'7", 250 pounds, like
No
220 pounds. Yeah, they were built different than us.
Huh.
Yeah, they were thick ass bones, man. Like a 5'7", 200-pound man today, like, man, that guy's got to be lifting some weights. It's
All right.
basically my height. I'm 5'8". I weigh 200 pounds. So I'm built like a Neanderthal. Like, legitimately. That's
Yeah.
what they were all built like.
Yeah.
That and thicker.
Right.
But with way denser bones than me.
And bigger heads, right?
Bigger heads, bigger arms, bigger bones. The bones in the forearm, the arms, the legs, everything was thicker. They were just more sturdy than us. They're like naturally, like, they didn't have to lift weights. They would rip your fucking arms off. They were just built like almost like a half a chimp, like on the way from being, Australia or, Homo erectus or Australopithecus or any of those early man type species. They were in that, they think there was dozens of them. They think there's the ones out of Russia that they found out about. I think they're called Denisovans. There's those little hobbit people that were in the island
Australia?
of Flores.
Oh.
The island of Flores. They think there might be ones in those places too. Even in Vietnam, they have one they call the Orang Pendek, I think is how you say it. And that's like a little monkey man, like a little hairy man that lives in the forest out there. And before this Hobbit discovery, which was only like a decade ago, the people that live in the island of Flores, and they found out that there was absolutely 3 foot tall little hairy people that had stone tools, and and they organized and they lived in these places and they used fire. Like that's a real
Wow.
goddamn thing.
No shit.
Yeah, and they just found that out within the last decade or so. So, I mean, how many of them were out there? How many other ones were out there that we just don't have fossils of? And when you talk to a guy like Graham Hancock, who has that amazing book right there called America Before, fuck, that's a good book.
I can't
I'm
find
balls
anything
deep
with
in that.
evidence. About 10,000 years ago seems to be the most agreed upon
10,000?
potential for spoken language. I
No
think
shit.
they might only have evidence that goes back that far. There's people that say it probably should go back as far back as 60,000 years, but I don't believe they have any evidence of that to support that.
How would you?
I
That's
know.
the problem.
Well, there's when they developed the larynx, the voice box. I think they trace it to that.
Yeah. That's the problem with history, right? It's like, who knows what the fuck Lincoln said? All we know is what Lincoln wrote. Okay? When you have Lincoln holding hands with his boyfriend, going for a walk through the garden, bitch, you're just making shit up. You're making
Why,
shit
is
up.
that a thing now?
Well, there is speculation that Abraham Lincoln was a gay man. Huh. And that he slept with a man for long periods of time in the same bed. But apparently people did that very often back then for warmth. Because, you lived in a place that was made out of wood that you chopped down your fucking self.
I should have been for 4 years, though.
Listen,
When I
it's
just
cold for 4 years in a row.
It'd be tough to share a bed with Lincoln. He was fucking huge.
Yeah, he's all strong, too. He's a wrestler.
Was he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, he was an excellent wrestler, supposedly.
And he shared a bed with his captain of his bodyguards whenever his wife was away.
Hip-hop hooray.
So maybe it was
Oh.
cold. I don't know.
Hey. It might be both. I mean, we have to, think about it in context, right? I think if you go back to the Greeks and the Romans, gay sex was way more common. I mean, it was like almost like everybody was half gay, right? It's
Yeah.
and pedophilia was just a normal thing. Young boys. Like if you read Socrates, you read the history of him or of a lot of scholars and like really respected thinkers, they had young boys that they would bang. So what today is a horrific crime against humanity was completely normal back then.
Yeah.
So when did that stop? When did dudes just stop banging dudes? And did they just kind of do it and not talk about it? Or was it...
It seems like Christianity first brought about the shame, the sexual shame that we have today. So I would probably trace it back to like 2,000 years ago.
Here's the question. How much of being gay is stopped by society's expectations? Like, what is the percentage of people who are actually gay, who just can't act on it because whether their mom or their religion or their church they go to or they got married and they had kids but they really want to be gay. How much of that exists today? Like what percentage out of all the gay activity? If you could put it on a pie chart.
You mean how many more gay people would there be if they didn't?
If there was just no one
conform to
if there's no expectations
pressures.
from religion, no expectations from your community.
I'd be in.
Would you be in?
Fuck yeah.
Do you think you'd be a top or a bottom?
Top.
That's what everybody thinks.
I'd be a screaming bottom.
A lot of crying, waterboarding.
I'd be a running bottom.
It would be just like when you were waterboarded. You'd be fucking spasming uncontrollably.
And it turns out that's what a lot of the guys are into, unfortunately.
Yeah,
that's the biggest kink
out.
in the community.
Waterboarding.
Dude, he's a runner.
Butt fucked. Getting butt fucked by waterboarding. It's the new black. It's the new thing. Yeah, it's the rage. It's all the rage.
Nipple clamps and...
Did you ever watch Orange is the New Black?
A couple times.
Is it any good?
It's not bad. I felt like the characters were a little too overdrawn. I didn't buy them as real people too much. They seemed like... It felt like a writer coming up with a character as opposed to like really trying to portray human behavior. But then again, I've never been in a women's prison. My mom worked in a women's prison for years.
Dude, really?
Yeah, and she talked about they were all victims. We were talking about earlier about women who were abused, and every fucking one of them was abused sexually, physically. Almost all of them are in jail because of a guy. They were carrying drugs for a guy. They fucking killed a guy because he kept attacking her. It was pretty rare. And a lot of it was obviously drug use, but that stems from usually childhood abuse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But for a lot of them, my mom said it was the best environment they'd ever lived in because there was a solidarity among a lot of the women. There was a lot of support. There was education. There were support groups.
Yeah.
And they developed relationships with women without men around. And so they were able to foster and nurture real female-empowered relationships.
That's so sad and cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? It's sad, but it's like, well, it's nice that something is working out for them. Like women in jail seem to have a way better time of it than men in jail. Just seems like a better deal.
I think so.
You're probably not getting beat up as much. Isn't there a new reality show about women in jail where they're following these women in jail?
It's not just women. Oh, it's mostly women. I saw it's called Jailbirds on Netflix. I watched like the first
Yes, that's
episodes.
right. Is that good?
It's not bad. Yeah, it follows them in like the Sacramento jail, like where they're in holding or...
It seems like there's so many fucking shows about people in jail that it must be like prisoners must get agents now.
Oh my God.
Get offers. I got an offer from MSNBC for lockup.
Greg, they like you, but they'd like you to just get some face tattoos. Do you think you'd be they'll put you on A&E.
Right.
Okay? A&E. Bad Guys show.
They're giving you
Bad guys in jail. Greg Fitzsimmons. Like, that's fun.
We're giving you a 2-year option, but I'm only in here for 1.
You follow golf, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about this because it's so ridiculous. I saw this guy got suspended from his serious golf show because he was talking about the LPGA. And he goes, who's going to win the LPGA? He goes, let me go out on a limb and say it's going to be a Korean. Because apparently Koreans win a lot of them.
70% of the LPGA is Korean.
It's crazy.
Something
and then
like
he said, he goes, pick a name. He goes, is it Lee? He goes, how many Lees do we have that entered? And it's like 6 Lees. 6 Lees. He goes, there's 6 Lees. They said he was racist and sexist, and they suspended him for those comments. Like, first of all, it's not bad to win. Okay, when he's saying, who do you think's going to win? Probably a Korean. Well, that's good. That means the Koreans kick ass at golf. That's not fucking racist.
Right.
It's not racist to say that. It's also not racist to say maybe their name is Lee, because there's a lot of Lees. That's not racist. That's accurate. It turns out there was 6 Lees.
Yeah.
Like, come on, folks.
Right.
We're not saying anything bad. You're talking about something that everybody loves, which is golf.
Yeah.
Right? You all love it. That's why you're listening to golf radio. And these
And you're
Koreans,
talking about an impoverished country that has found a way, like black people found boxing, or Irish guys found the fucking police force. Like, you find something to rise up out of.
well, Koreans
poverty.
work hard. I mean, I
They
guarantee
work
you
hard.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's a part of the culture. I had a very good friend of mine that I've talked about many times in this podcast who was U.S. national champ while he was in medical school, national taekwondo champ.
Wow.
And I realized how hard some people
He's
work.
Korean.
Oh, yeah. Jung-sik Chang, that was his name.
Damn.
Yeah. Great guy. One of my favorite people I've ever met. I loved him to death.
I don't know why it's women, but in men's golf, and men's golf is very international now. It's never had more players from around the world, but not a lot of Koreans. There's like a Japanese guy who's way up top, and there's another Korean guy who's good, but nothing like LPGA.
That's interesting. I didn't know anything about Koreans in golf before I saw that. But we have to make a differentiation between something that is about a race and something that's racist.
Yeah.
This is not negative. You're literally talking about a positive thing. They're winners. You want to win. Don't you want to win? You're trying to win, right? Well, they win a lot. They're awesome at it.
Yeah.
And they're not cheating. They're just kicking ass. They're
Right.
better at golf.
Yeah.
And some of them are named Lee. There's nothing racist here. This is not racist.
They're upset because the ratings for the LPGA are way down because they want to see Americans playing. So there's like it's
Is
an
that what it
issue.
is?
Yeah, it's a big issue because
So
of ratings.
you think his attitude is racist because he's like mocking it because Koreans are winning it, so he doesn't care? Is
I don't
the
know that. I
attitude?
don't know that that's his
That's
intention.
inferring a
but
lot,
no,
right?
I don't think it's his intention. I think there's a sensitivity about it because it's become an issue.
I get that. That makes sense. But it just doesn't make sense if you're just going off what he said.
Right.
Off what he said. What I'm getting is you're being super fucking sensitive with
Right.
how you treat people that are talking about winners.
Yeah.
Like, that's the case with Filipinos and pool. Filipinos are some of the greatest pool players of all time. Some of my all-time favorite pool players are from the Philippines. Francisco Bustamante, Efren Reyes, Rodolfo Luwat, Alex Pagulayan, some of the greatest of all time. Dennis Arculo, all those guys were Filipino.
Wow.
They're the top of the food chain, man. When you saw those guys playing the tournament, you're like, fuck. Like, you knew they were winning.
Yeah.
I mean, Efren Reyes won everything. Bustamante won everything. These guys are murderers. And if you said, like, who's going to win this tournament? Psst, probably a Filipino. Everybody would start laughing. Like, yep, probably. It wouldn't be a negative. It'd be a positive.
Yeah.
They're some of the best in the world at pool. That's not racist. That's accurate.
Yeah. Now, what is it with MMA? What are the big nationalities? Is
That's
it
a good question.
Russians?
Russians are murdering it right now. There's a lot of badass Russians. Wherever life is hard,
Yeah.
you're going to find fighters. And you're going to find people that survive where life is hard and thrive. And then that's how you get like a Khabib Nurmagomedov. You get a hard motherfucker who knows how to fight and ain't scared of shit. Same thing with Conor McGregor. You get a hard neighborhood, a hard life, you know, growing up in Dublin, dangerous, fighting since he was young, you know. That's how you get these beasts. And then,
But a lot of American MMA guys come from
wrestling.
or the military, right?
Yes, some of them from the military. You know, it's rare. You know, we had special forces guy like Tim Kennedy, of course, who's probably one of the most famous. Brian Stan, also a military veteran. And you look at these guys that are, you know, the guys that are capable of being SEALs or Rangers or Green Berets. They're just elite humans. They're people that know how to do things and push themselves in a way that other people don't. Sometimes that translates over the fighting, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they just don't have the physical capability of it. Like, they might have the mindset to survive war and the ability to get through buds and to get through grueling physical training, but you ain't beating John Jones. You know, like there's levels to this thing. There's genetic levels. You know, John Jones has like some of the best genetics ever, and then uses them as good as anybody that's ever existed. Best at controlling distance of all time. He's got two brothers that are NFL players. So this is like super genetics in the household, right? Both his brothers are NFL stars.
That's amazing.
And he's the baddest light heavyweight of all time. And he's smart. So it's not just physical, it's also intellectual. He's also sets traps for people. He measures them, he sees what they're doing, and he feels them weakening. He pressures them and puts heavy pressure on people. He knows when to ebb and flow. He's just a genius at fighting.
Do lightweights have longer careers?
No. No, I would say the opposite. I would say the bigger guys actually have they can compete at a higher level deep into their 30s and even 40s. Like Randy Couture, I think he re-won the heavyweight title when he was 42. Check
Because I would think there'd be more knockouts with heavyweights.
There's a lot of knockouts with heavyweights, but their bodies maintain what got them to the dance later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like George Foreman. George Foreman won the heavyweight title. I think he was 46 when he knocked out Michael Moore. It's like the oldest ever heavyweight champion. And that's just unheard of at welterweight. You're not going to see 46-year-old welterweights winning the world title against Earl Spence Jr. or someone like that. You're just not going to see that.
He's 43.
He was 43?
Mm-hmm.
Randy was, yeah. And find out how old George Foreman was when he knocked out Michael Moore. So that's crazy. That's crazy old, 43.
Yeah.
You don't see that at 125 pounds. You just don't. You just don't.
Right.
At 125 pounds, no one wins the title at 43 years
So just
old.
the mass almost helps you survive.
Something like that. I also think they lose less as they get older. 45. He was 45. So, yeah, George Foreman was the oldest ever heavyweight champion at 45. Crazy.
Wow.
That is so unusual as like a middleweight. The only one who maintained a world championship caliber skill set deep into his 40s was Bernard Hopkins. And Archie Moore, when Archie Moore was younger. I mean, we're talking about the Rocky Marciano days. That was he fought deep into his 40s as well, but he was just like a real crafty veteran. He actually also trained George Foreman, which is very interesting. So, like that crafty veteran trained George Foreman to be a crafty veteran, and maintain his power. He had a real unusual. I don't know if you remember, but George Foreman used to almost like put his hands up like he didn't know how to fight. Like, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. Almost like that, but that was his defense. He would move forward like this because he was so big.
Right.
He was such an enormous man with these enormous arms. So when he would stack them on top of each other and walk towards you like that, it was this weird offense. And he learned that from Archie Moore. It's part of his defense and holding his hands up in a weird way. He learned from Archie Moore.
Right. Well, you know, the oldest hockey player in the NHL is also the biggest, 6'8". The guy is Zdeno Chara on the Bruins. 43.
What's that name? What is his name?
Zdeno Chara. He's Slovakian.
Yeah, he that dude was from the Lord of the Rings. Like, let's listen to that name.
Right.
They gave birth to him in a meadow. They rode a horse out there.
There was destiny. They predicted how long he'd play when he was young.
Shit. Yeah, just that name.
There he is.
Look at him. He looks like a fucking Viking.
He's an animal.
And he fights?
I saw this one fight where he hit a guy, and the guy kind of took a dive, and he leaned down and picked him up with one hand and started punching him with the other. Lifted him off the ice with one hand. God. Yeah.
I saw one thing that a guy did that's really fucked up. A guy hip tossed a dude. He judo threw him. Like he swept him, like he grabbed a hold of him, swept his leg out, kicked his leg out like a uchimata, and slammed his fucking head onto the ground.
Jesus.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, that ain't the same as fighting. Like, you know you're on ice.
Yeah.
I mean, no one told him he couldn't do it,
right?
But he used some really fucking sneaky shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the fighting in the NHL, it's funny, there's really great clips of guys talking to each other before fights, and it's amazingly calm. They literally go like, hey, you want to go? And the guy will be like, yeah, I'll go. And then they fight. And then and then as soon as the other guy goes, yeah, they just throw their gloves down and they start fighting. It's all part of the game. It's all fucking orchestrated. And there's players that fight and there's players that don't. And if you're on the ice with another goon, then it's expected that you guys are going to fight at some point.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What a crazy way to make a living. Bare knuckle fighting on slippery floor.
Yeah, but you know, they don't get hit that much because they get the jersey up.
They do. They get hit enough, though.
Yeah.
I've been watching dudes who have skills now. You're seeing way more guys who have boxing skill doing this. Like guys who like land like short uppercuts and left hooks where you're like, oh my God, that guy turned that punch over. That guy knows how to punch.
Yeah, there's not as many overhands. Yeah, where all you're doing with the overhand is hitting the guy in the helmet with your fist.
Yeah, the flailing. Sometimes you don't see that. Sometimes you're seeing guys who throw fucking straight punches. You're like, oh.
Right.
You don't know how to fight, and then this guy knows how to do that while he's on. Yeah, this one. Look at this. Boom, boom.
See a Ovechkin knockout for those at home.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a good KO. While he's and then he gives him one while he's going down. And then he goes down. He's out cold.
Yeah.
boom, boom, bang.
He's knocked
Look
a
at
few
that.
guys out.
Oh,
Yeah, he
I believe
punches
it.
right from the shoulder.
Oh yeah, that guy can punch. You're punching in the face while he's punching you in the face too. It's chaos. It's a terrible way to punch people.
Not only a great fighter, one of the best players in the league, and
Is he
also
really? A great fighter.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a crazy sport, man. Doesn't get enough love.
Yeah.
Get the average person to name a famous hockey player who's currently playing.
I know.
This is the same guy. This crazy thing happened this year. This is an insane video to watch. I can't show it. People at home might have seen this, but the puck literally flies and hits him right in the face, and he barely moves. Should show it again in slow motion right here.
You check to see if his teeth got knocked out. Oh man, he got pucked right in the mug.
Yeah.
Bro, that is hard. Wow, that guy can take it. Fuck hitting that dude.
This is insane.
Dude, do you know the fucking Bruins, and they actually dropped game 1 last night against the Blues, but the Bruins are set to win the Stanley Cup, which means Boston will win the fucking Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Stanley Cup in 1 year.
And remember when we lived there, they couldn't win shit.
No.
It was like they had such an inferiority complex.
Yeah. And they would get close. Like the Celtics were good. They had
Yeah.
Larry Bird and Danny
But now
Ainge.
they have it forever. Because like, when was the last time the Yankees won the World Series? How long ago was that?
Jeez, 2008.
So it's been 11 years. But
I could be way off on that.
But they still have it. They're
Yeah.
still the Yankees. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But for the Red Sox, they had never pulled it off. And then that Bill Buckner thing. Bill Buckner just died.
I
by the way.
know. So sad.
Sad.
And that's the thing about being in Boston, because I grew up a Mets fan. We had season tickets to the Mets since I was a little kid. And so when they got into the World Series and I was going to school in Boston, surrounded by massholes watching these fucking games, and they're just, I'm sorry, if you're from Boston, take it the fuck easy about your sports. They're so loud. Like last night with the Bruins game, they boo the entire. They introduce the
Animals.
Blues. They boo every fucking player. It's just it's barbaric.
They're animals.
So then fucking Buckner, who's this storied, amazing player, who's a journeyman, he's been out there forever. They put him at first base. He used to be an outfielder, but he slowed down. I think he had bad legs or something, so they put him at first base. He gets a fucking ball hit to him. It took a bad hop. Watch the video. It took a bad hop, and he missed it. And there were death threats. They dropped him that year. He went down to Pawtucket in Rhode Island to play in the minors. They showed up there and fucking terrorized him. He had to move out to like Arizona to hide
Jesus
because of these
Christ.
fucking Boston fans.
I remember people walking the streets. What year was that? 84?
86.
86? I remember people walking the streets. They'd just be walking around the neighborhood with their hands in their hair. Like, fuck.
Yeah, after they lost.
Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just walking the streets,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
People were so mad. It was all anybody wanted to talk about.
Right. Because they hadn't won a World Series since
Yeah.
2017 or something.
Oh, it was crazy. I was already
2019, 17.
Yeah, 1917. I was already over baseball at that point. I wasn't interested in baseball anymore. So for me, it was really fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Watch these people, because I had gone from caring about baseball to being obsessed with martial arts, and that was in the trend. Like, I got obsessed with martial arts in like 81. So by the time 86 rolled around, I was like, what the fuck are you people paying attention to?
Yeah.
Some guy dropped a ball. You gonna be okay?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Not only that, but that same year, I believe it was that same year, the
Mets.
that
They went
same year
crazy.
the Patriots lost to the Bears in the Super Bowl, and it was one of the biggest blowouts in Super Bowl history.
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
they were riding off of that too.
It was rough times. Rough
Yeah.
times for Boston.
Yeah.
I don't want to live there because I can't deal with the cold. I'm too much of a pussy these days.
Yeah.
But I love those fucking animals.
Oh, Boston's the best. I fucking love
They're
Boston.
different, man.
Yep. Yep. They're
different.
characters.
They're different. Growing up there, I think for both of us, like to start our comedy careers there, I think it was insanely valuable.
Yeah.
Because they're not taking any bullshit there. They're not taking any half-assed act that's slow and meandering and self-absorbed. Not happening.
No. And it's still like that.
Still like that.
I was just there, and it's like they don't. Here's what it is. When you walk on stage in Boston, the audience doesn't automatically, by default, give you credit for being in charge.
Right.
You have to earn it every time.
Yep.
With your first joke in Boston is fucking clutch. You got to get up there and get a laugh fast.
Yeah. It's fucking cold there in the winter. It makes harder people.
Yeah, that's right.
It makes people that know how to get past that fucking hump.
Yeah.
That's a 3-month hump where it sucks. You remember that?
Yeah, it's brutal.
December.
It's fucking windy.
Getting down to Stitches on fucking Comav. It's fucking freezing. You
Waiting
get in
for
through
the
door.
T, just trembling while you wait for the train. Outdoors. How about a
Yeah.
fucking underground subway?
No. Outside.
Outside.
Outside. No underground. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Everybody's smushed together. Everybody's freezing. Every time the door opens, everyone's fucking freezing. Fuck, 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 fuck.
Yeah.
You get in your car in the morning to start it. Like, fuck, 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 fuck.
Yeah. Right.
So cold.
And then they also have it's an immigrant city too. You know, they had all the Italians and the Irish. They all came in and they fucking fought it out over real estate, where they were going to live, who's going to get the union jobs, and it created a very tough. It's like Philly or the Bronx. There's just cities where they had that fighting at the turn of the century.
Yeah, and I think it was the magical ingredient for stand-up. That's part of the magical ingredient. The magical ingredient wasn't just that there was guys like Barry Crimmins and Lenny Clark and
Steve Sweeney
and Don Gavin and Mike Donovan and all these brilliant comedians that we saw that we were so lucky to see. It was also that they were their audiences were savages.
Yeah.
So they're like, great, how about another joke? You know, great, how about another one? Like, they're like, keep coming with the jokes.
Right.
Jokes. Like, they want joke. Like, those guys, like, when you'd watch like Lenny Clark murder a room, there was no one's getting a break. There's no breathing room.
Yeah.
You're just getting pounded.
Yeah.
He's just smashing you.
Right.
Like, those guys developed in that style where people just were constantly wanting to be amused. Like, let's go with the fucking meandering.
Yeah.
They want
and they want it
bang,
with,
bang,
they
bang.
want it with attitude. They want an anti-authoritarian attitude.
Yep.
It was always like, I remember Kenny Rogerson's joke of like, I remember, I'm not saying I was drinking a lot, but I drove into a lake, got pulled over by the Coast Guard. They said, "Have you been drinking?" I go, "I'm in a lake." It was always just fuck you to authority, you know?
Well, yeah, everything was like, so I'm doing a bump. Yeah. Everything was like doing lines and drinking and chaos.
John Tobin, who runs the Laugh Boston, he's telling me the story. He's a fucking, if you ever want to hear Gavin stories for an hour straight, go to lunch with John Tobin and bring a fucking handkerchief, because he's got Don Gavin stories. He's talking about how Gavin, who likes to drink White Russians, does a late show and goes up there and repeats a joke. And he walks off stage, and one of the comedians goes, Don, you said the same joke twice up there. And he goes, record 6.
Imagine saying the same joke 6 times. Oh my God. How drunk are you? You're like on death's door. You're like rubbing your face on the door of death. Like, hello, let me in.
But it's also the not giving a shit that he did it 6 times.
He didn't give a fuck.
He doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't give a fuck. He still didn't give a fuck. Last time I saw him, still Don Gavin.
Yeah.
Hasn't slowed down. Drinking one hand, big smile on his face.
He's always been my favorite.
He's one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, I mean, he was so sharp in the 80s and the early 90s when we were around. He was so sharp. His punchlines would come one after the other, and you didn't see him coming, and they would just catch you off guard.
Little offbeat punchlines.
Yeah, little throwaways.
Yeah.
Like throwaway line that was like some of the funniest shit you ever heard.
Yeah.
That whole bit that he used to do about going to a salad bar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He was a murderer.
He goes, up front, they got chickpeas. In the back, you got the lobster giving you the finger.
We're just so lucky, man. We're so lucky we got to experience that. Because I think it's so different out here now. Like, where we're at now is like if comedy was an education, we're hanging around with a bunch of tenured professors, right? At
In
the
LA?
store. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's got tenure. Everyone's like whether it's Jesselneck or, Neil Brennan or you or who, it's just a gang of headliners, like a swamp of headliners. But when we were doing it, man, it was so uncertain. There was not that thing where there was like this established community of like nationally touring stand-up comedians that you were around all the time. You didn't have any.
No,
of that.
nobody had any TV credits.
No.
Nobody had any TV credits.
Not one headliner.
It was all about, and the beauty of it was a total meritocracy, because there were guys like, Gavin and Sweeney. There were half a dozen guys that could draw.
Yeah.
And the rest of us were hired because there was a comedy night. Somebody fucking hand drew comedy on a sign and put it in front of a Chinese restaurant. And you showed up and you got booked because the booker thought you could kill.
Yeah.
It's all that mattered was that you could do a good job.
That's it. Can you do it? Can you
Not
out there
what
and pull it
credits you
out?
have,
No
not
one
what
cares.
fucking Twitter account you have.
Once you got credits, though, then you could do the road. That was the difference.
Yeah, to get out of Boston, you needed a credit.
Yeah. When you're doing the road, they all wanted to know what TV show you've been on. They all wanted to know that.
Yeah.
Have you done Comedy Spotlight? What about Half Hour Comedy Hour? Have you done this? And if you had an HBO special, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was the bomb diggity. You were headlining every club you wanted to. This guy's got an HBO special. But back then, everyone that we knew had nothing.
I remember Bud Friedman came to town in the early 90s when it was Evening at the Improv was like the original
I remember that.
strip shot stand-up comedy show that put it on the map, put A&E on the map. It was their first big show.
Yeah.
And I remember he came to town and there was a showcase at Duck Soup, and we all went up, and then Bud Friedman, who's a fucking great guy, takes us all out to dinner afterwards, and sits us down, and he goes through each of us. He goes, "You did a great job. You need a little bit more work. I like that bit you did." And he gets to Dave Fitzgerald, and he goes, "You got it. You're doing the show." And we were just all like,
Wow.
"Fuck, man."
Fitzgerald is one people thought they forgot about. He was very funny.
Yeah, he was great.
Very funny.
Tight.
Great drinking stories.
Yeah,
He's another guy that found his stage legs during Alcoholics Anonymous meetings.
that's right.
There's a few of those guys.
He's like, you know.
That's that
They
voice.
say you go to AA meetings and you end up just getting addicted to coffee. Yeah, I never walked out of a Dunkin' Donuts with a wildebeest on my arm.
My arm.
My arm.
My arm. And the more Boston accent you had in Boston, the more they loved you.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Lenny was the only one who had legitimate credits. Because at that time, like even in the 80s, Lenny had already been on Rodney Dangerfield's special.
The HBO
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
I think when I worked with him, it was after he had been on Rodney Dangerfield. So I had Lenny on like 4 weeks ago. He was a fucking hilarious. He's still so funny, man.
Yeah.
He's all healthy now, totally sober, exercises. But I opened up for him like the second time I ever got paid. And I think it was after he had already been on HBO. I think it was like right afterwards. Like he was like
That's early.
partying with Kinnison, and he was in the middle of like his run where he got his television show out
Yeah.
here. He talked about that too, about how he got ripped off. His agent stole all of his money.
No shit.
You don't know that story?
No.
Oh my god, I'll send you the link.
Fuck.
I don't want to repeat the story because you want to hear him say it.
Wow.
There was a big scandal. There was I think it was called Spotlight Agency. I forget what the agency
Oh yeah,
was.
Spotlight.
Remember they stole
Yep.
everybody's money?
Yep. Yeah, they stole
One agent.
everybody's money.
Yeah, one agent just
Yeah, they used to
snuck
book a
away.
lot of colleges and stuff. But there's a story about how Jim McCauley, who booked the Tonight Show forever, he said he'd heard about Boston, and he's like, and they're telling him, and this is back in like maybe the mid '80s, and they're telling him about how you got to go to Boston. All the great comics are in Boston now. You got to, talking about all the names we just said. So he sets up a showcase at the, what was that Chinese restaurant that was like the original room?
Which one? Kowloon?
No, way back.
Oh, the Ding Ho.
Ding Ho.
Yeah.
They set up a showcase at the Ding Ho, and all the guys come down, and they're in the green room, and they're drinking, they're doing blow, they're cracking each other up, and they all go up there, and they do fucking, local references, and they're doing jokes about the Boston accent, and Macaulay's just sitting there going, what the fuck is going on here? And then Stephen Wright goes up, and he does Stephen Wright. And they find out a couple days later, nobody got it except Stephen Wright. And Stephen Wright at that time, Lenny told him, I think it was Lenny, one of them sat Stephen Wright down and goes, Steve, you're a sweet guy. You're a terrific kid. This isn't for you. Because he used to bomb in Boston because he was monotone and he was doing a shtick and it didn't play in Boston.
Wow.
The way it did for these guys. They told him you should stop.
Oh
and then
my
he got the
God.
Tonight Show. They
Oh
fly
my
him out.
God.
He does a set. Johnny liked him so much, they said, can you stay another week? Did another spot. And in that first year, he must have done 4 Tonight Shows, and he became fucking huge. You got a special out of it. And they're all sitting at home going like, I fucking killed that night. He didn't kill.
Yeah. Whoops. Telling them to quit. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Comedy had only been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
How you telling them to quit? Nobody knows how to do it yet.
Right.
You know, imagine, I'm an expert in this. You got to quit. Like nobody could really tell you that you can never figure it out. Because comedy is not that different than anything else. And that if you really put a lot of time and effort and attention to it, you get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got any laughs at all, you might not be doing it the right way, but that's part of the process, right? It's like,
yeah, I think George Carlin said no matter how bad a comedian is, there's always one joke in his act that I go, God, I wish I wrote that joke. And if you have that one joke, it means you're capable of writing one.
yes.
And sometimes your life changes and it puts you in a different space that makes you a better comedian, whether it's your performance or your writing. But and comedy you're displaying what's going on inside of you. When you're on stage, on some level, your anger, your fear, whatever it is, it comes out in your performance.
Yeah.
And so if something changes fundamentally in your life, sometimes it's getting married, sometimes your father dies, whatever, you see people change. They get sober and they can suddenly get good.
Yeah. It can happen. It's like anything else in your life. If you run into someone, they lost 100 pounds. Like, what the fuck? You lost 100 pounds? How did you do it? I just made a change. I just decided I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to live my life different. And then I started riding that momentum, and then here we are.
Right.
16 months later.
Yeah.
That could happen with anything.
I remember Jim Norton when he started. Wasn't that funny? Struggled. And all of a sudden, boom, found his voice. He's fucking great.
Yeah, it's weird when someone can't find their voice, right? It's like there's that uncertainty of life. Just like, is this going to work out?
Yeah.
Am I wasting my time? And then you find it.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not.
You know, and again, it's dependent also about how good are you at recognizing when you're fucking up. How good are you? Do you gloss over mistakes or do you examine them and learn from them?
Yeah.
Because if you gloss over, god damn, it takes forever to figure it out. Because you got to play little games with yourself and pretend you didn't do bad. So if you didn't do bad, you don't feel bad. If you don't feel bad, you're not going to change.
Yeah.
Like that's part of the reason it exists. That horrible feeling when you fuck something up. Like, ugh. That's the biological buzz. Like, hey, fuckface, you lost. This is bad. Figure this out. But if you can lie to yourself, you don't feel that buzz. You're like, oh no, I'm doing fine. It was amazing. The crowd sucked.
Well, that's why getting sober can affect that change because that's ultimately what sobriety is. Yes. You know, if you have a problem, you keep lying to yourself and you go, I'm fine. It was just last night. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah. Or you can say, it was that crowd. And then, you'll see them struggle in some sort of weird way. But comedy it's so ebb and flow, dependent on day to day. It's like talking to people, you talking to people on a day-to-day basis. Like the people are different day to day. They subtly this way or that way. And when you get enough people in a fucking room and they're drinking, it's weird, and then maybe you're a little tired, and then it comes off strange. You're like, God, that set sucked. I need to get another set under my belt. And then the next set, you're like, boy, I don't want it to be like that last set, so I'm going to fire the fuck up. And then, oh, this one was good. Let me relax now. I don't have to work that hard. I already had that good set.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this set sucked.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. And then you're like, okay, we're playing this game, are we?
Yeah.
That's the process.
Yeah, and I never have a better set than after a bad set.
Yeah.
Always.
You're on your toes.
Yeah.
I try to play a little game with myself where I pretend I just ate shit. Like
really?
Before I go on stage, I pretend I just ate shit. It's my chance to redeem myself. Let's go.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, I play little games with myself sometimes.
Last night I had who was sitting in the crowd? Oh, Andy Kindler was sitting in the crowd with
that son of a bitch. Sorry, Andy. I'm just kidding.
Andy and
I love Andy.
And who the fuck else was out there? Oh, and Harlan Williams, who are both like such interesting comedians that they're watching me, and you feel I usually don't give a fuck who's watching me, but last night was the Improv, and there was like nobody there, and I felt like I can't mail it in with a regular set. I got to fuck around here a little bit, and I had just had a fucking great set because it made me dig in a little bit.
Yes. That's one of the really good aspects about the Comedy Store these days too. Is that there's always people that you respect in the room.
Yeah.
There's always someone there.
Right.
You know, there's always Ron White's there. You know, Joey
Sebastian
Diaz is there.
gave me a big
Sebastian's
compliment the other night on one of my jokes. That felt nice.
there. Yeah. Sebastian's a guy that struggled.
Did he?
Early on,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know
he had
that.
a hard time. Had a hard time finding his voice. And I didn't get a chance to see how good he had become. And I watched him on Showtime in a hotel room in Vegas. I was there for a UFC or something. And I watched Sebastian at a Showtime special. And I was like, God damn, this is good. And I think I tweeted about it. I either tweeted it or I emailed him. I don't remember which, but I was like, he's fucking good.
Yeah,
that was
he's
hilarious.
really good. I watched him at the store the other night. I mean, Jesus, he is bigger than life up there.
Yeah.
He just
very
dominates
good.
the room.
Just very good. And it took a while. It took a while for him to find that thing, and it happened while I was not around the Comedy Store. I really didn't get a chance to see his sets. So before he was funny, but he would have good sets and bad sets. He was kind of struggling a little bit, but then he found it.
Yeah.
Just took his time, worked hard, always hustled, found it.
Dude, Jesselnick's last
Oh my
special
God.
is so fucking good.
He's so good.
I mean, it's like I've always liked him. I've always enjoyed and I don't watch people's whole hour rarely, but I've always watched his whole hours. His writing is just so like intensely. He's a craftsman.
He works hard.
And
there it is, 2013. Dude, Carty special in a hotel room, laugh my ass off. Let's podcast, you sexy bitch. Yeah, that was 2013. I had been still out of the store. I'd been out of the store for like at that point, shit, that was 6 years. I hadn't been in the store in 6 years. The special was excellent. I just love guys like him and Harlan's one of those guys too. That their comedy is very specific to them. Like Brody was a great example of that. Brody's comedy is so specific to Brody. Like if you say 818 till I die. Like, why is that funny to you? But to you and I, you immediately got a smile thinking about Brody saying it.
Yeah.
His comedy was so specific to him. I was a male model in Pakistan. I was on the cover of Camel Beat. Oh, he was so funny. We would ask him to do those jokes too. Like, please do the male model joke. Like, you'd yell out to him, Brody, did you ever do any modeling? Funny ask.
Yeah.
Rogan, supportive.
I go, Brody, how did you get to the store tonight? La Cienega, north. Took it to San Vicente. He would just say names of roads in L.A. for 5 minutes.
And it was funny for whatever reason.
Yeah.
God, I miss that guy.
He was like, to me, it was always like he was trying to make people laugh and he was also trying to blow himself up. He was trying to fill himself up.
Yeah.
It was like he was doing self-affirmations with his comedy. He wasn't boasting. He was trying to convince himself that he was good enough to be up there.
Forever in my office, I had a laminated photo that said Office Depot Employee of the Month, and it was Brody. And he took this photo. It was like what he was using as a headshot.
That's great.
And I kept it just to give you a smile while I was writing. I put it up on my little cork board.
Wow.
See if you can find that, man. I needed to get another one of those. I don't know what the fuck happened to it.
When he died, I don't think I've ever seen a turnout for a comedian dying.
Is that it?
The way his
Found it?
memorial
That's it.
was.
That's exactly it.
Oh, that's
that was
great.
laminated in my office. Please do me a favor and print that up and let's get that turned into another one that I put in my office. Because I somewhere in the move from this studio, from the old studio to this studio, I lost it. But I always had that in my office. So it's just to look at, just because Brody was just so Brody.
Yeah, he was just open, raw.
And he was one of those guys where you really have to be there. You have to see him.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't translate. No one translates 100. That's a dirty little secret about comedy specials. You don't translate 100% of what you're experiencing when you're in that room. That's why your writing has to be even sharper.
Yeah.
And your act outs have to be even sharper. Everything has to be tightened down because you're not experiencing the physical presence of all the audience members and the comedian all in this room together, because it's an intangible, right? So if like going to see you live at the Wilbur Theater, if that's 100%, watching you on Netflix is like 80%.
Yeah.
You take away all the other people. There's no other people there. It's just you. You can pretend they're there, but they're not there. So you don't have that feeling of being in a public place with a bunch of other people, which lights you up. And then you don't have the comic that you came to see right in front of you. You don't have that.
Yeah.
You don't have the air. You're all sharing the same air. You're all in the room together. You feel each other in some sort of a weird way. So it's like 20% of every show. But with Brody,
there's also the
it was even
momentum
more.
of like, if you come to a comedy show, you're surrounded by people that have an agenda to laugh. They got a babysitter, they paid money, they sat down, they are motivated to laugh. And so now you're surrounded by, if you're the Wilbur Theater, you got 1,000 people that all have that energy together. You're sitting in your underwear under a blanket on a couch watching a show.
Yeah, it's 80% though, for the most part.
Yeah.
Maybe, might be in the 70s, 79%.
What's the best stand-up comedy special of all time in your mind?
They're era dependent. The thing about them is none of them really last. They're not. It's comedy is one of the most rapidly depreciating art forms in the culture in terms of its staying power.
Yeah.
Try and watch a movie we loved in the 80s.
Yeah.
Try to watch a comedy movie.
I know. I try to with my kids all the time, and they look at me and they go, "Why are you showing me
garbage?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few of them stand up. Blues Brothers.
Sure.
Yeah.
But does it really? It stands up because it's a classic, but if it came out today, would it be that much of a classic?
Probably not.
Probably not. Things change. They evolve. In comedy, they evolve rapidly, and they're unforgiving. Like, I always say Lenny Bruce, who I think is the main guy that started this whole thing.
Mm.
He started it. I mean, there was other guys that were kind of doing it. You know, there's Mort Saul. There's a few guys who were doing, you know, some similar stuff, I'm sure, that didn't become famous. But as far as guys that became famous at that time who were genuinely regarded almost universally as being brilliant comedians, Lenny Bruce was the Mac Daddy. Like, he was a guy who did all the television shows. He did all those shows. And they wanted him to come on, and he was brilliant. And he would go on there with great material, and it was clean. And then he morphed. You know, he just kept expanding and morphing, and he got more into drugs, and just started just at the end of his career was really losing his fucking mind. He was just fighting these obscenity cases.
Yeah.
And he was going on stage. There's videos of him. You could watch videos of him that you could buy, that I bought VHS tapes of back in the day, where he would read the transcripts of his trial on stage. And people would like, tell jokes.
Yeah.
Come on, where's the fucking jokes? Like, in the end, he just completely went off the rails.
Right.
But his steps, I think, were the first steps of modern stand-up comedy. So anything he did was the greatest thing of all time back then.
And
but
you
then,
watch it now, and
it doesn't hold up.
It does not hold up at
It does
all.
not hold up at all.
No.
But neither does a lot of other. Pryor holds up.
Pryor holds up.
Yeah, Pryor holds up. Hicks holds up, but in a weird way.
Yeah.
Hicks holds up in a way where you're realizing, like, wow, this guy was doing some shit that no one else was doing back then. Like Young Man on Acid realized that life is just, you know that whole bit that he does about positive stories in the news. I don't remember exactly how the bit works, but it's a hilarious bit. Like, that's a brilliant bit.
Yeah.
Well crafted bit. He had a lot of those.
Old people should do stunts in movies.
Yes. Yeah. That was, yeah. I mean, he had some great shit, man. They were great bits. He was a different guy. What he did is he, like, made people in the audience think about ideas that you probably wouldn't have thought about if not for his act. And he challenged you to be smarter. Like, there was part of that. One of the things that Hicks was doing is, like, it's like Kinnison went this way, right? Kinnison was like, Ronald Reagan's the fucking president, and we're gonna kick ass! Wow! You know, he went, but he was also smart, and he had great points. Like, the only reason why that bit about the African people that were starving to death, that bit about those late night television shows, which is one of his darkest bits ever, and one of his best bits. But it worked because he was smart, because he had points that were irrefutable. It wasn't just these African kids starving to death. Let me tell you what's funny about that. Nothing's funny about that. It was him saying, why don't you feed them? You're right there. And then he would have these kind of bits that were fucked up, but they were so well crafted. You're like, Jesus, this guy, this is so good. And so for then, he was the greatest of all time. When Kinnison came along, man, he was a motherfucker.
Yeah.
No one had ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah, I remember how much you were affected by him. You and Mike McDonald. He was fucking...
Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Fucking
Comedy barbarian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we both were huge Kinnison fans.
Yeah.
Well, he just made me think, oh, that's comedy too. I didn't know you could do that. Like, that's a different thing. This guy's screaming, I was married twice. Ow, ow. And he was fat, and he had a beret on and an overcoat.
Dude, he
looked
would
like a
come into
child
the Stern
molester.
show drunk after being up all night and do, without a doubt, the best Stern appearances
He's
of
an
all time.
Animal.
Yeah.
You know his story too, right? Do you know
He's a preacher, right?
You know what flipped him though?
What?
Head injury, hit by a car.
No shit.
Yep, him and Roseanne, both the same story.
Wow.
Yep. There's something about traumatic brain injuries that lead to a lot of people being extremely impulsive, and they wind up doing a lot of wild shit.
Dude,
And they
T.J.
can't
Miller.
control themselves. Yeah?
He had some kind of a brain thing happen to him, and he needed, he got treated for it, and he recovered, but that's when he started acting kind of erratic.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It happens. People get irrational, and you get impulsive. You get very impulsive. It happens with ex-football players, ex-fighters.
Right.
But that's what happened to Sam. He got hit by a car. His brother wrote a book about it called Brother Sam, his brother Bill. And that's one of the things he talks about. Like, Sam was like this normal kid, gets hit by a fucking car, and then all of a sudden he's this wild man, like a wild demon, no control.
Yeah.
Just didn't give a fuck.
Right.
You know? That's a guy that I wish I met. I'm like, fuck. God damn, I really wanted to meet that guy.
We met Hicks, though.
We did meet Hicks.
Yeah,
We
briefly.
saw him. We were in the room with him. We didn't hang out with him. Right?
We said hi to him in the green room. That was about it.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
I always think of that when like a young comic comes in the green room to say hi to me. I always think, fucking be nice to this kid because this means more to him than you can imagine.
Fuck yeah. Just the fact that Hicks acknowledged I was alive.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, we got an amazing comedy education, my friend.
Yeah.
It's so lucky to have a job where you could say what you want to and you don't have to worry like that poor LPGA guy. Poor golf guy gets suspended.
Well, especially now because like it really TV doesn't matter. Being banned from TV doesn't end your career anymore.
No.
You know, look at fucking Jim Jeffries says some shit that's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He says this whole bit about rape that's like I couldn't believe it was on Sirius XM radio the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, his show got canceled. He's got another fucking show, but without those, it doesn't matter. You get your shit up on the internet, you do a podcast, you tour. You don't ever have to do the Tonight Show again. You don't have to do, you know.
Yeah, there was only a few avenues back then.
Yeah.
Now it's infinite. You
So
just have to be good.
Yeah.
You just have to be interesting. Or not even, man. I mean, there's a lot of fucking people that just do makeup tutorials and they make millions. The world's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, don't think that it's supposed to be fair. Like,
Right.
all those guys back in Boston, hey, what the fuck? I
Yeah,
killed that
right.
night. Same thing.
Right.
Like, don't think this world's supposed to be fair. No one knows what the fuck is going on. This kid is making $30 million reviewing toys on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's just how it is.
Because he loves toys, and that's what he started doing. What do you love?
Not only that,
Do
it's just that's how it is. Like, you getting upset about that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kid makes $30 million reviewing toys. Go figure it out. Figure your thing out.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at the kid. Fuck that kid.
Yeah.
I got money. I just want $1 million a year. That's all I want from you. Come
Yeah.
on, kid.
Hey.
You could give it to me. You're not even going to use it. You're 7. I was a veteran.
Got some veteran reviewing toys online. Got 12
This
views.
toy is for good little queers. This fucking doll. This little doll.
This fucking soldier never saw the shit. I saw the shit.
Yeah, this fake G.I. Joe bullshit fucking soldier. Yeah, what is the next thing? Like, it's not veterans reviewing toys. It's not going to be that. But what would be the next thing?
The next thing,
So,
I think it's got to be something that like lets people interact more. That's what people are looking for. I mean, you got social apps, but how do you take a social app and make it something that you sit down and watch every day as programming?
right. How do you do that?
What's the clip show or what's the who's the host that can take social media and do like what Talk Soup did with video clip with cable TV shows.
Yeah.
How do you capture social media and present it to people in a way that is more linear?
Well, the thing is, like, everybody's sort of agreeing that social media is insanely addictive and that people are sort of in denial about it. Most people have a real issue with it.
Yeah.
Most people that I know are addicted to their phones. They stare at their phones all day. They can't help it. They're drawn to the next text message. They want the next tweet, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They want to see that next Facebook post, an Instagram post. They're addicted to it. And what we're doing is making it more addictive. They're making it better, right? Everything keeps getting better. The cameras keep getting better. The apps are better.
The algorithms, they figure out how long it should take to reload and to move to another page and when to present the next graphic. That all that stuff is the same guys that figured out how slot machines should work in Vegas to keep you putting quarters into them.
Yeah.
They figure out how often you need to win and how loud the bells should be.
And then they extract your data.
Right.
And then they sell that data. And then they make infinite amounts of money. And they want to keep you on the tit. And so they're going to keep that tit juicy with all kinds of new stuff. Right. What about these anti-vaxxers? They're moving into your neighborhood. What?
Yeah.
Fuck they are.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're embroiled in a Facebook anti-vax debate that keeps you up in the middle of the night. You go back to check the post. What the fuck did he write? The fuck did he write? Ooh! I was going to go to sleep, and now I'm going to let him know. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. How many people are just ready to blow their fucking brains out, stand in front of the computer at night, and arguments with people on Facebook?
Yeah.
First of all, that is one of the worst ways to communicate. I understand that it's a really effective way to communicate, but just text messages, just writing things back, it's like one of the crudest ways that we know. You might as well send a raven.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
Wrap a piece of paper around that raven's foot and send it, and I'll read it when okay, this is what he means. Yeah. Like, we could talk to each other now. Like, we should limit the amount of texting we do. I really think
Well, what about video texts? Yeah, I haven't seen much of that.
A lot of
hey,
people.
Joe, what's happening, man? Give me a call later. Send.
That's because you're white. Yesterday, Wiz Khalifa was here, and he was saying that everybody FaceTimes now.
Oh, yeah?
And I know this for a fact because I was taking a shit when Killer Mike FaceTimed me. So he is also a member of that prestigious community. And yeah, they're FaceTime each other now, which I'm for.
Yeah, that's great.
That's better. Yeah. That's better. That's connecting everybody.
Yeah.
That's better.
No, you called me on the phone yesterday.
Yes.
And you were like, that's it. I'm done with texting. I'm only calling it. And I was like, that's what fucking Joey Diaz does.
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
Joey gets offended and almost angry if you email him.
I mean, I'll text people details for things and addresses and stuff like that. But if it's somebody I like, I want to talk to them. Say hi. And there's other thing that's happened when you keep in touch with people with text. You realize how rarely you talk to them on the phone. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's a few of my friends that I hardly ever see. Yeah. So I've been trying to make time for like dinner plans, go to hang out with friends, right? And just instead of just always working. Yeah. So like I'm always. Every like plan that I make in terms of what I do with my time is either family related or work related. Yeah. And I feel like I've got to like reach out to friends more in like a one-on-one, face-to-face sort of way.
There was just this comprehensive study that started in the 1930s by Harvard University about what causes happiness. And the number one thing was friendship. Yeah. People talk about family, they talk about work, and you overlook community. You know, friendship means it's almost like sometimes I feel like I really love my wife. I got so fucking lucky. I hear her voice and I get happy. When she walks in the door, I jump up, I want to talk to her. But to the point where on a Saturday night, we just go out to dinner. We just go do something. During the day, we just hang out. And sometimes I think I should be spending more time with friends, you know? Especially since then I can talk shit about her.
There you go. It's a good call.
But you know, it really is like, you know, you don't carve out that time. And this study said that gratitude and friendship are the two main things for happiness.
Well, it's great that you're married to your friend. That's beautiful too.
Right.
You know, when you have friends, when you have people that you can confide in and talk to, you have different perspectives, different points of view. It's always best if it's in your house. Like if it's your wife, it would be amazing. You know, I'm very, very pro getting your shit together in terms of like the way you run a relationship, right? Like how nice are you? How well do you guys get along? And I think it should extend not just to your spouse, but also to like all your friends. Like how nice are you to your friends? Like how little bullshit do you give them? How much compliments do you give them? How objective are you with the way you guys interact with each other?
How often do you tell them that you care about them?
Yeah. How often do you take them for granted? I think I'm very pro analysis, and I think all of us could do well to analyze like how we interface with each other, because I think most problems that people have, it's like one thing happens, then this thing happens, and that thing happens. But if the first thing didn't happen, would the second thing have happened? If the first slight didn't happen, if the first way you greeted someone, it was with a big smile and a handshake, and maybe it would have rolled, the whole conversation would have rolled in a totally different way. And then afterwards, someone said, "Hey, I thought you were mad at Greg." You know what? I was, but the way he came over and shook my hand and smiled at me, I'm like, oh, who cares?
Right.
What am I worried about? Whereas if you came over with an attitude, oh, this fucking guy, and then he's like, oh, that fucking guy hasn't dropped it yet.
Yeah.
We're still arguing about the stupid fucking thing. You know I'm right. And no, you know. It's half of it is the way we interact with each other.
Right.
Male, female, boy, whatever the fuck. It's just human beings. Half of the way human beings, like the way things go, half of it is how we interact with each other.
Yeah, the energy. Like I go to the Comedy Store sometimes, and if I show up and like I show up 3 minutes before my spot, and then I park the car and I'm walking in, and somebody I like will say hi to me. You know, I'll see Dove Davidoff or somebody I haven't seen in a while, and he says, "What's up?" And I kind of brush past him because I'm late. That fucks up the relationship, because that person feels like, oh, I thought I meant a lot to that guy.
Right.
So it's like I got to show up early and think before I walk in, be available to people, because it is, you're right. It can be very subtle how you shake someone's hand, how you like don't hug them or hug them.
Yep.
A friend of mine goes the other day, we play beach volleyball on Sundays. That's my big social thing. 15 years I've been playing with the same guys.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's great exercise, too.
It's great, and we call ourselves the Shirts because we're the only guys on the beach playing with our shirts on. And we're fucking terrible. We never get any better. And so we go out, and I showed up and I hugged everybody. And then this one guy, Evan, goes to me. He goes, I don't think you should hug everybody all the time. I think a hug should be like for a special moment, so it actually means something. And I go, you have intimacy problems, and don't fucking put them on me. I won't hug you, but I'm fucking hugging everybody else. Yeah, I love it. I love a moment where I can hug somebody.
Yeah. The Comedy Store should be called the Hug Festival.
Yeah, right.
That place is all about hugs. Yeah. Everyone's always hugging everybody.
Yeah.
The more people that you can have like that in your life, the more people that you want to hug, the better off you are.
Yeah.
That's, a community of people that you actually care about.
I hug the shit out of my kids.
It bums me out when people don't like to.
Yeah.
It bums me out when people don't like to hug their kids, be around their kids. It's a bummer. It's a real bummer. When you know someone who doesn't like being a parent, it's rough.
Yeah.
Because, you know that feeling. It's all, I mean, it's one of the things about having children. Do you realize it's all about trying to foster love? It's all about that. It's all about, you want them to be loving people that meet other loving people. It's like, this is possible. This is possible. If this family can get along and we all love each other and care about each other so much, why can't the human race, why can't all these people get along better? Why can't they? They can, in the ideal circumstances. You're under ideal circumstances, and most people aren't.
Well, it's fear. I think that's what keeps people from being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And hugging and expressing how they feel about each other and supporting, like, unconditional love is getting rid of the fear.
Yeah.
You can't be afraid that this love is going to turn on you and this person's going to hurt you.
Right. And you have to have had that happen a few times. So you're like, well, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I must have been annoying.
Right. Yeah.
Listen.
Analysis.
It's part of the problem.
Yeah.
We're all part of the problem. Yeah, man. It's I think it's an interesting time for people to communicate, though. I don't think anybody has ever really gotten to the bottom of things in the past, the way people are trying to get to the bottom of things now. And there's a lot of noise.
What do you mean, emotionally?
I think emotionally, the way we communicate with each other, even the way people are examining government and examining foreign policy and examining the office of the president and examining voting and the electoral process. And there's things that people are analyzing now and looking at. I think because of all the chaos of the internet, we kind of lose sight of all the crazy shit that it's doing. Like, it's doing so many different things and changing things so much that it's rewiring the way people are looking at the world itself.
Yeah.
And that's why all these fucking drugs are getting legalized. A giant part of why psilocybin is getting legalized now, it's decriminalized in Denver, marijuana's being decriminalized left and right. It's because people like you and me and anyone else that has a brain that understands about drug laws, hear them talking about it. And you go, this is crazy. You can't lock people up for mushrooms, and you should take them.
Yeah.
You should fucking take them. They'll probably fix your brain. They'll probably give you a new perspective and make you realize you were being a dick. It's half of what's wrong with us.
Right.
We're just worried about how we interface with each other, and we
So you're
get
saying
off on the wrong foot.
So you're saying the internet is giving people insights and information that's changing the way we live?
I think so, for sure. I think the access to information, because the stream is so large, so much nonsense comes through it, that you lose perspective of all the positive change that's taking place because of the internet.
Right.
All these drug legalization things, I don't think would ever be possible without all of the information that's been distributed online, whether it's through videos or through people talking about it or podcasts or comedy routines or just facts with facts-based, news organizations start putting here's the real facts about marijuana and fatalities, and these are the real facts about where the money's going, how it's going right now to fund cartels, and how this is crazy because we're literally creating an organized crime empire because we're making something that everybody wants.
Yeah.
And all that stuff is available now. You can't squash it with
what we were just talking about.
Yes, that's another one. You can't squash it with propaganda like they could in the past. They could just kind of decide what narrative gets played out in the newspapers.
Right.
You can't do that anymore.
Well, did you read that article I sent you about stories versus facts?
Yes, I did. And that's the Noah Yuval Harari.
Right.
Yes.
The guy that wrote *Sapiens*. And it basically says that, stories trump facts, and that basically we are a culture, the human species has always believed the myth, whether it's religion or whether it's a political dogma, that we are more apt to ignore facts that don't support a story because telling facts, being factual, is difficult because sometimes that fact doesn't jibe with what you thought was true, and now you have to rectify that, and that's hard. Yeah. And so it's easier for us to just say, Jesus came, and when we die, our sins will be forgiven, and we're supposed to do this. And then if facts come up to negate how long ago man, all the things we know from archaeology that negate everything that's in the Bible, then the story, you still have 60% of our country doesn't believe that they think the planet is 6,000 years old.
I think it's 46%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 46% of the country thinks that. But they only think of it in terms of they won't denounce the Bible. Do they really? I mean, if you had a gun to their head, do they really think that? I don't think it's that high. I think it's a lot of horseshit. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that say, if that's what the Bible says, is that what the Bible says?
Right.
That's what the Bible says.
I want to believe the story.
What did you tell him, Bert? I told him that's what the Bible says, Mama. Good boy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Right.
And then he's with his friends, and he cracks open a beer, and he's like, what the fuck does my mama know about how old the fucking earth is?
Yeah, there's
she
a lot of people
knows
that
how old she is, and they're just drinking.
Right. Now, a lot of people go to church on Sunday because culturally that's what you do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they subscribe to all that stuff. But then you got, the every 4 years the government puts out an environmental study that is done by, I think, 12 different departments in the government, and it's considered the quintessential update on where the environment is internationally.
Yeah.
And that came out in November, and it was damning about pollutants. And the administration put it out on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, at 3:00 in the morning, and they buried it. And in it is everything about global warming you ever needed to know. And they're no longer calling it global warming. They're no longer calling it's no longer fossil fuel. It's freedom. What is the new thing they're calling it?
Freedom juice?
Something like that.
Jesus come?
They're literally changing the name of fossil fuels.
This is the Trump administration?
Yeah.
Freedom
This?
gas. Natural gas is being rebranded to freedom gas.
Wow. This is like some Team America World Police type shit.
And it's like people that want to deny global warming, it's like the facts are there. Unrefutable.
Well, I don't think anybody's denying that the planet's warming.
Right.
I think they're denying how much of an impact human beings have and whether or not it's worth changing the way we do in industry.
Yeah.
You know, and whether or not we need to impose more restrictions on exhaust fumes and, I mean, factories. How much? You ever drive by a factory and you see that pillowing smoke in the air? You're like, how the fuck are we allowing that?
Yeah.
Like, there's places to this day where you drive there and you go, oh, this group gets to pollute the air that the babies breathe.
Yeah.
They do for this business, whatever the fuck they're doing. What are they, making tires? They get to pollute the air.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the worst polluter? Like, when you drive by a factory and you see the black smoke shooting in the sky, like, what the fuck are they doing?
Dude, cruise ships.
Oh my
I think
God.
I read they're the number one
terrible.
polluter.
We did a thing where we were trying to figure out, was it with who was it with? Someone was explaining how much devastation cruise ships do in terms of the amount of fuel that they burn and the impact that they have, and the fact, it was Valentine Thomas, was it her?
Sounds maybe, yeah. I can check.
They were talking about how, like, each cruise ship, like how much actual fuel they burn off. It's preposterous.
I think I read they're the biggest burners of fossil fuels in the
Makes
world.
sense. It's a giant fucking metal thing in the water.
Yeah. You ever try to push a fucking rowboat? It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. What assholes are people where they built something like the Titanic? Like, just what kind of an asshole says, not only am I going to make it out of metal, like, can't we just use a bunch of small boats and get people? Nope. No, I'm going to make the biggest boat ever. And when I write on it, even God can't sink it. I mean,
I'm Noah.
imagine what an asshole you have to be to write. Even God can't sink it.
Yeah.
On the side of the boat.
Oh, is that what they wrote?
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Wasn't that? That's a fact, right?
Oh, that's
God, that better
funny.
not be an urban myth. I think it's said on the side of the Titanic, even God can't sink it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They weren't one of these people to be excited.
And they're going nowhere. Cruise ship. Just going nowhere.
Well, it was something to do back then, man.
Yeah.
Imagine living back then. Ugh.
Oh, no, the Titanic was
air conditioning.
Oh, that was
no TV.
Yeah.
What year was that?
Titanic, 1920s?
Yeah, the Roaring
The
20s.
remaking one and setting it out, Titanic 2.
Those
It's going
sons
to go
of
on the
bitches.
same
Did
route.
it say what I think it said?
That's a quote someone said, an employee. I don't know if it was written on it. But like
Oh,
at
I
the
thought it
launch,
was
it's a
written
quote,
on it.
1911.
Oh, it's a launch code?
It was 1911?
Quote, rather. 1911. Yeah, fuck living then. It's more than 100 years ago. What kind of cave people were they back then?
Wait, what?
So what kind of cave people were they back then?
Yeah.
They didn't have x-ray machines. How the
Yeah.
fuck did they sit your broken leg? What'd they do?
Yeah.
What'd
This
they
is
do?
the thing on the cruise ships. It's a video about how much they pollute.
Whoa.
One ship, or watch a cruise ship pollute as much as 13 million cars in one day is what this video is called.
Whoa.
Wow. No shit.
Whoa.
They've
Holy
just gotten so
shit.
much bigger over time.
Holy shit.
19 million cars.
Well, let's just ban cruise ships.
wow.
Trump. Is there a Trump cruise ship? Why doesn't he have a cruise ship?
Only because he hasn't thought of it yet.
He's going to hear this podcast. Ha ha.
Wow.
Let's wrap this up because I got to pee really bad. Gregory, you'll be with me tonight at the Improv.
Can't
2 sold-out
wait.
shows. Good times with Monty Franklin, Ali Makovsky. You got some dates?
Got some dates coming up, people. I'm going to be in lovely Atlanta at the Punchline June 6th.
Oh, shit.
through
Punchline's
the 8th.
back?
It's back. It's in a different location.
How is it?
It's great. It's more intimate.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
And then I'll be in Tampa at Side Splitters on June 13th to the 15th. And then I will be in Buffalo, New York at Helium Comedy Club June 27th through the 29th. Go to fitzdog.com for tickets. The podcast is Fitzdog Radio. And then Childish is my other podcast with Alison Rosen.
How fucking professional is he? It's like you do it for a living. Oh, wait. All right. Bye, everybody.
How long was that?